Excellent. So this meeting, this time now is 6:37 p.m. And this meeting is going to be starting now in order. My name is Vijay Ramjatan. I'm the CEC president. I want to welcome all of you here to the amazing District 28 Community Education Council monthly calendar meeting. This is our March 2021 calendar meeting. I want to welcome all of you, all stakeholders in our community, from various offices, from various schools, various parts of the district, and various positions. I want to welcome you to this meeting that we have every month. And this month is a very special month for us here at the CEC28. Why is it special? We are still here. 1 year ago, our world was changed in a way that none of us expected this to change. Whereas the pandemic happened, right? COVID-19 pandemic, and we as a CEC did not know what to do. So did many of you here. And we had to change, and we had to adjust, and we had to rethink and reposition. We had so many things planned and different things happening, and we all had to switch gears and adjust and do something a little differently, and we did. The good thing is we did. We adjusted. We paused. We learned when we had to pause and learn. We fell when we had to fall, but we always got back up every time. This month is a little somber for us because 1 year ago until today, our district lost many members as well. So before we start this meeting today, before I even start this meeting with a calling on all of our members, I would ask all of you to join with me in one moment of silence for every member in this universe that we have lost in some way or the other. It starts now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and time. This past year was tough in a lot of ways, but it was a little bit easier because we had a group of people who said, we can do this. And we held each other's hand and said, our parents, our families are looking to us for guidance in many ways as the council of District 28. And I want to thank and first say a huge hug and everything else to my fellow council members who are about to call, and they can announce themselves as being present or not. Vijay Ramjatan, President, I am here. Our first Vice President, Barbara Williams.
I'm here.
Thank you, Barbara, for this, everything that you have been doing. Second Vice President, Elena Amenova.
Here.
Thank you, Elena, for everything. Recording Secretary, Eric Cooper. I know she's here somewhere. Recording Secretary, Erica Cooper.
Okay. She might have dropped off. I don't see her on.
Yeah, we'll call back on her. We're not going to mark her as absent as yet. We know she's here somewhere. And Treasurer Andy Meadas King. Treasurer Andy Meadas King. Okay, not excuse. Members Ted Chang.
Here.
Ted, thank you for everything. Member Michael Morrison, he has an excused absence today. Members Robert Tamayev. Robert Tamayev. Okay, Robert is not excused. Member Howard Pollock. Can someone make Howard a, okay. And also Rajwinder.
Present. Present.
Howard, thank you for everything. Member Rajwinder Kaur.
Present.
Rajwinder, thank you for everything. So once again, to all the principals who are on board tonight, thank you. Thank you for all that you do To all our parent coordinators, we thank you for what you have been doing, every one of you. To all our teachers who are on board tonight, we thank you for everything that you've been doing. You have been doing a lot and adjusting in so many ways, and we are grateful to you for what you have been doing. To Sonia Rueda, Rosa Fenton, and everyone else from the district office, we want to thank you for what you've been doing. And to our amazing superintendent, she had a little family emergency tonight. She'll be coming on off and on. I don't think she's on right now, but when she does come on, we will bring her on right on, and we'll have her do her part. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and get started with our program tonight. Our agenda, we have a very full agenda tonight, so we want to make sure we give everyone their space, and I'll ask all speakers to please keep within your time frame. We'll appreciate that, to be respectful of everyone's time. So at this time, we'll ask the budget director, Naomi Alexander, for the Contracts for Excellence C4E presentation. Naomi, please. You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well and that your families are doing well. So basically today we're just going to have a brief overview of what the Contracts for Excellence funds are, how they came about, and the intended purpose of the funding. So I'm going to go off the camera. I'm going to share my screen because we're going to go through a PowerPoint with this information, okay? Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Where is it? Okay. In here. Are you guys able to see?
It's loading, yes. It says, give it a second, it should. Come on. I'm still seeing a blank screen.
It says my screen sharing is paused. I'm not sure why.
Okay, I'm sure our team is working on that. To make sure.
1 second. I'm just gonna close out all the other screens just to ensure that maybe that's not causing an issue. Okay.
There it is. Okay, we can see it.
Okay, so 1 second. Do you still see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen now, yes.
Yes, we see it.
Okay, okay, good. So now here. Okay, so as I said, this is just basically an overview of what the Contracts for Excellence allocation is and how it came about. Contracts for Excellence is an allocation that has given to schools as foundation aid from the state. It's a portion of the overall budget, and this funding came about to supplement schools' funding due to a Court of Appeals decision that happened in 2006. The result of that decision was that every public school child in the state has a right to a sound basic education. And with that being said, these funds are giving to supplement the education that's being given to students. In doing that, those funds were distributed to schools that meet certain requirements, and they also have, those funds must be spent by those schools in, as it states here, in designated program areas that are set forth by the legislation. Some of the C4E requirements are that the funds go to certain program initiatives. Some of those initiatives are class size reduction, right, which this allows for smaller class groups so that students can receive more direct instruction, time on task, teacher and principal quality initiatives, middle and high school restructuring. It also goes towards full day pre-K programs and model programs for L students. In addition to that, the funds should be used towards meeting the overall goals of the school, which are stated in the school's school comprehension educational plan, right? Some of those goals, target the English language learners, students in poverty, students with disabilities, and students with low academic achievement or at risk of not graduating. And the funds are intended to supplement, not supplant programs. And a reason for this is that it's given to assist schools in reaching these objectives, right? It's not so that you can create new programs. However, they are understanding that if a school had a program in place, or if they have initiatives that also align with this, that funding can be used for those programs. This screen is going to give you a breakdown of the C4E funding, and it basically falls into two pots. We have unrestricted funds and restricted funds. So your unrestricted funds are not subject to the rules that fall under the C4E guidelines. And that portion of the funding is built into the overall budget, which is primarily your fair student funding. The other large orange portion is the restricted funding, right? And this portion of the funding must comply with the C4E guidelines. And right now, the city is basically in a maintenance of effort level, which means since 2009, due to the recession, the city has not awarded schools additional C4E funds. So what they have done is the funding that schools received as a result of that 2006 decision, up to 2009, the funding they received, they've tried to maintain that funding that they've given to schools so that whatever programs they had in place, they can continue with that, but they have not given additional funding to schools. And while the state has awarded no increase in foundation aid, your non-discretionary costs, we understand that they continue to rise. However, the rising costs mean that each C4E dollar will not stretch as far as it did previously, but schools have a little bit more discretion on how they go about utilizing that funding to continue to meet those goals. This is the preliminary plan for FY21. As you can see, the discretionary dollars take up the majority of the chart, and the discretionary dollars go directly to schools. These funds may be spent as the principal and SLT see fit and contingent upon the C4E spending regulations. The targeted funds are earmarked for specific programs in schools based on student need and applicable school population. And then the green portion is the maintenance of effort. So that portion there goes towards supporting summer school and the programs that were already existing, excuse me. So this slide goes into detail about the discretionary funds. And I just want to make note that all schools receive the same allocation as last year. We expect schools to maintain programs that they started with these funds in previous years, unless they are unable to do so because of changes to their student population or other material differences in the operations of the school. The public may see how a principal has scheduled his or her allocation by going to the DOE website and selecting the About Us tab, and then selecting the Funding Our Schools, and then Contracts for Excellence. that will allow you to see how each school is using their funding respectively. And just note that the DOE allows principals to make budgetary decisions about what they need for their schools and students to succeed. So while schools have been budgeting these funds, their use of them is not approved until New York City's Contract for Excellence plan is approved by the state. So principals are notified at the beginning of the budget process that their proposed uses of the funds are subject to a public process, which is why we're discussing this now, and that they are expected to take feedback from the constituents, so from parents, students, teachers. They have to take that into account. So given the special considerations of C4E funding, the department is working to ensure that principals and their school leadership teams have the full range of information and support needed to optimally allocate their C4E dollars. This slide goes into detail about the targeted funds. So note that schools that received targeted C4E allocations in 2009, the 2009-2010 received those allocations again in the fiscal 21 school year, the FY21 school year, as long as they retain the population necessary to maintain that effort. Funds that were previously in schools that lost the population needed to support these programs may be redistributed to other schools that gain those populations. So basically the funding follows those students, right? So if that population decreased at your school but increased at another, one school would see a reduction in the targeted assistance, while another would see that increase. In terms of ICT classrooms, classes reduce the pupil-teacher ratio for general education students and are important and valued instructional intervention for special education students. Under the C4E regulations, assignment of additional teachers to a classroom to facilitate student attainment of state learning standards is an eligible expense in the program area of class size reduction, and allocations for ICT/CTT classrooms have been approved by the state in all prior DOE C4E plans. So it's just to let you know basically that this funding can go towards funding teachers in those class settings. And in terms of district-wide initiatives, we're proposing to continue funding the same programs as we have in the past years. This slide is just going to show you a bit about how the C4E dollars are spent. And as you can see, the majority of the funding goes towards teachers. A lot of criticism of the C4E spending is that we don't use enough money to reduce class size. But as you can see, the slide demonstrates that how much of the 348 million actually goes towards paying for teachers and other school-based support staff. 94% of funds go towards paying for teachers and service staff, and these personnel all contribute to reducing class size and pupil-teacher ratios, as well as improving student achievement outcomes. Pupil personnel service providers encompass titles such as speech pathology, speech improvement, guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists, professionals, etc. Okay. This is just a district-specific breakdown of the C4E spending. And this slide shows proposed discretionary spending amounts and percentages. So you can see here. And this is also a breakdown of the funding. So a portion here goes the breakdown for the class size reduction, time on task, and then your teacher and principal quality initiatives. This is how it's being used in D28 as it regards to middle and high school restructuring, full day pre-K, and then model programs for else. Class size, as you stated, as an allowable activity during the FY21 school year. So for the FY21 school year, the DOE will continue its efforts to reduce class size, which is one of the allowable activities for the Contracts for Excellence, contingent upon the legislation. And for the FY21 school year, the DOE will continue to focus on the lowest performing schools in its class size reduction efforts. The New York State Commissioner of Education has determined that the 5-year C4E class size plan created in 2007, when the C4E legislation was issued, is no longer in effect. So they're just going to continue to maintain and try to maintain the programs that were created and supplement schools with that funding. However, there isn't going to be an increase in that funding at this time. They will be, you will be able to give public comment and feedback. And on the screen, you'll see that there is a email here for you to send any of your concerns, to give comments, ask any questions. You can send it to the email contractsforexcellence@schools.nyc.gov. And then once all of the comments and questions are gathered, then they will be sending out basically like a bullet points addressing the most common questions and comments that were submitted. And that is it.
Thank you so much. You can stop sharing at this time when you have a chance. Excellent. Thank you so much, Naomi, for always doing a very exhaustive job in bringing the slides. I'm sure if we want to.
Do you guys have a copy of this?
We do. Well, but we'll ask you to email it to our administrative assistant.
Okay.
She will have it up on our website. So you know twice, and we can have it on our website for the community and for everyone else to go and take your time and all the time you need to really go through these 14 slides. These 14 slides tells a lot. It tells a lot about the funding, money. It's all about the money, right? Where it's going, how it's being spent, and how is it divided. So I encourage everyone here to please do check it out on our website, CEC28.org, and you can definitely get all the information there. I know we have Robert Tamayev who joined us. Robert, can you just say present really quickly? Robert Tamayev, a CEC member.
Yes, I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Robert. I also saw Andy Meadus-King joined us. Andy, you here? Please just say yes, you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Andy.
I was watching the budget. I wish if it could have had a debate.
On the budget? Okay, we can always debate the budget after. And also we have, I saw Erica Cooper, our recording secretary. She joined. Erica?
Yes, I'm here, present.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we have our members here. It's all your always support. Thank you all for all that you do. So at this time, we're moving right along with our agenda because we have a very packed agenda. I neglected to say before last month on February 4th, CEC28 hosted a chancellor, Mr. Carranza, who came to CEC28 for the town hall. And I want to say that feedback in terms of our team, we did a great job in preparing for this. It was a lot of work, a lot of sleepless, long hours to prepare for this town hall virtually. It was a first time for us, and I want to thank our team for doing a great job in hosting the chancellor. And we did a great job as a team selecting the questions that our community gave us to ask the chancellor. So we thank you, the community, also for submitting questions throughout. This time,
and thank you to BB for really supporting us in that effort.
So we'll move right along right now. This time we have Senator Leroy Comrie, who will he will take his time this time. Senator Leroy Comrie.
Help, help, help. I can't. I'm done.
There you are.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
I couldn't unmute. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, President Ramachan and all of the members of CEC28. I want to thank you for your consistency in making sure that information gets out to the community and that parents are empowered and informed. It's nothing more important than making sure that parents can understand all of the things happening, especially as we are moving through these difficult times. You have pivoted well, you've pivoted expertly, and been able to provide a platform for parents to be able to continually work with the CEC so that they can get the knowledge that they need to be effective parents in these strange times that we're in. And I heard the beginning of what Rajah said, and it is true. You know, a year ago we were in a different place, a scary place. So I'm glad to see that you all have come to it. We've lost so many good people in our community over the past year, and I appreciate you doing a moment of silence for those losses. And you know, we have to continue to remember to stay safe as well. I took the vaccination shot a week ago Wednesday. I'm no crazier than I was a week ago Tuesday. So I would encourage people to go get the shot and be vaccinated if you're eligible. I was eligible. And so I did get it, and I would encourage people to, as soon as you're eligible, because while Zoom is a platform that is helpful, it's not the same as seeing people's passions and hearing people and being able to be in the same room with someone as they're advocating for the things that they want to see happen in and around their community. We are in the midst of budget negotiations among all the other craziness that's happening in Albany. I think some of you might have seen what's going on in Albany. But we have to make sure that we try to deliver a budget that makes sense. Right now, the governor's austerity budget does not help education, and I would implore all of you to reach out to the governor's office and let him know that he cannot do a percentage cut to education. We need to enhance education in this time where we have still children in our district that don't have the ability to get internet services, or they're behind in school and they want to cut opportunities for education. It makes absolutely no sense. What we also need to do, if you can, please email the governor or call the governor's office and tell him that we cannot sit under a 2% spending cap when we have to resurrect the state and revive our economy. You know, we cannot be bound to an austerity budget when we have to do things necessary to make sure that we stimulate the opportunity to restart our economy. And right now, what he is trying to do would only hurt us in major ways. So I'm here to please ask everyone to do whatever they can to make sure that we push back on the budget. We're doing it at the elected level, but we need heat from the street to make sure that we can get people to be part of what has to happen to make sure we get all of the education dollars we need. There are a lot of other things that are happening, but the governor has put this austerity budget out. It would harm us with Medicaid services, with hospital services. We would lose major money at Jamaica Hospital and Queens Hospital if this budget went through. So we just cannot allow this to happen. I could go on and on about it, but my basic message is that we cannot afford to allow the state to have a recession budget when we need to resurrect our state. So please take a minute and send an email, send a letter if you can participate in a protest. We really need to see your voices throughout the state. Finally, my office is open remotely and by appointment. We are doing pre-tax prep for seniors. We are helping seniors that don't have internet access to get appointments if they're eligible. We are working with people in other areas, whatever your concerns or issues are. Please feel free to reach out to my office and get our email at info@leroycomrie.org. Chantrice Keller is on the Zoom as well from my office, and I'm proud that she is working for me and representing me. She's a parent as well, so you know she wants to be involved to make sure at every level all parents can get the information that they need to be educated. So I want to thank you. And someone made me the host, so you need to take back the hosting duties from me.
Thank you so much.
Because I'm actually going to jump, because I'm actually still in a hearing. We're looking at the issues with the taxi cab medallion drivers, and I promised them that I would get back to the end of the hearing. But I wanted to just stop
Thank you.
and thank all of you for your consistency and your activism. This is not a community without you, because it's the parents that make our community whole. So thank you, and happy Women's History Month. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Leroy Comrie, and he represents the 14th senatorial district in the state. And I would like to thank him and his office. We'll thank Chantrice Keller. I made a request, I made a call, and they answered. And tonight, I am grateful that we have certificates for all of our members tonight. Citations from his office. There's one for myself, VJ Ramcharatan. We have one for Barbara Williams as our first vice president for your year of work, and for your 2 years of work, actually. We have one for Elena Amenova, right, from Senator Comrie's office, who was our second vice president. We have one for our treasurer, Mr. Andy Madas King, from his office, so citation. We have one for Mrs. Erica Cooper, our recording secretary. Thank you. Please accept this award virtually at this time. All right. And then we have one from Mr. Ted Chang, who so far is 2 years. We've been on this work, doing this work tonight. We also have one for Micah Morrison here. Micah. We have one for Robert Tamayev, Dr. Tamayev. Thank you so much for what you do. We also have one from Mr. Howard Pollock, for all his hard work and dedication for the past 2 years. We have one here also for Rajendra Kaur, who is the other borough president appointee, who's been serving our community. And of course, last but not least, we can't do what we do here without the amazing Crystal Weiss, who's our administrative assistant. And we have also a citation from Ms. Crystal Weiss for all that she does. Last but not least, I think I didn't know what else to do to thank you all for your commitment and work this past year. And Mr. Comrie said it perfectly. You know, we are part of this community, and our community needs each of us to do what we do. Senator Comrie also office and Chantrice Keller did a wonderful job at also providing for Dr. Pate, something that's amazing. She's not here right now, but I'll read for everyone. And even though she's not here right now, I really want to acknowledge this moment. We have a proclamation for Dr. Pate, all right? It's a proclamation from Senator Comrie's office. And it says here, proclamation, Senator Leroy Comrie honoring Dr. Tammy Pate for her outstanding service this time. And this is a state's recognition that says, whereas a great state is only as great as those individuals and institutions who perform exemplary service on behalf of their community, whether through unique achievement in professional, cultural, civic, spiritual, and other endeavors, or simply through a lifetime of active and empowered citizenship. And whereas it is the privilege of the legislative body to acknowledge Dr. Tammy Pate and commend her on all that she has been doing for this community. We have this for her also, and this is from CEC28. I'm going to thank the 14th senatorial district leader, Senator Leroy Comrie, for providing these to us. We are grateful, sir. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're quite welcome. Thank you. Thank you for asking. It was my honor to do so.
Yes, and to all council members, I have this here, but I want to keep it all. I'm joking. I'll make sure you all receive it soon. Thank you so much. We're going to be moving right along. Thank you so much. We have at this time, we're going to go to our council members, and we're going to ask if you have anything to report this time, council members. When I call upon you, just let us know if you have anything to report, and then we'll take it from there. First, Vice President Barbara Williams.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Comrie. We appreciate you. I had the pleasure of attending 2 SLTs, and I want to thank Principal Bunker, Alyssa Bunker from PS40 for inviting me to our SLT. They're doing wonderful, wonderful work. I was comfortable and They let me feel like I was a part of the school. Also, have the pleasure of visiting MS72, where Principal Sandusky is the principal. Wonderful, great work that they're doing over there. And I just want to thank those two principals for their invitation. Thank you. That's it.
Elena Amanova.
I will pass just for the sake of time for this month, and we'll go for the next month to allow our speakers to have more time to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Recording Secretary Erica Cooper. Erica?
Yes, hello. I'm sorry. So,
Do you have anything?
yeah, I'm here. Sorry. So I did get to attend a SLT meeting with Mel. So I want to thank the principal for extending that, and the PTA and all the members of the SLT. So thank you for that. And, you know, they just talked about trying to prepare to bring their middle school back at 100%, which they did. And I know Ted was part of that meeting, so he might want to add more to it. But that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. Andy Medis-King, anything to report this month?
I really don't have much to say because I've been all over the place. Right now I'm in Maryland, headed down to Virginia. I've been busy, very, very busy. But one thing I can say is that I love the energy of the CDC members. And because of you guys, right, there was a lot of takeaway, and you guys set the benchmark for a lot of other CECs to follow. And I really enjoyed the meeting with the chancellor of the questions that were asked. And I think that raised the game and raised the bar a lot. And I really feel honored to be working with a group of parents that really put children first. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Andy. Ted, we'll come back to you for your resolution later on. Okay, but at this point, do you have anything to report from the council?
No, I'll go later.
Thank you so much, Ted. Robert Tamayev, do you have anything, Dr. Robert Tamayev, to report at this time? Member Robert? Okay, we move along. Howard Pollock. Howard,
Thank you, Vijay. I had the
You're
pleasure
welcome.
of attending PS 174 SLT and their wonderful principal, Kelly, hardworking, fantastic staff. And it's a pleasure to represent the CEC and hear what wonderful things are going on in that school.
Thank you so much, Howard. And Rajwinder Kaur, Member Rajwinder Kaur.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be on this board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve for the community as of now. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As we know, CEC members are liaisons to the schools in our district, and they do attend the meetings that they have at the SLTs, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to be moving right along now. At this time, we're going to have Principal Vincent Sarachi. He is going to be doing his presentation this time from Q157 at Stephen Halsey Middle School. Mr. Sarachi.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, members of the CEC, Dr. Pate, for inviting our team to present this evening. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces on a Zoom call as well. We wanted to take a few minutes this evening to lend some insight on how our school and schools throughout our district tackled the embedded challenges of creating, designing, and implementing a robust digital curriculum and platform that also manages to incorporate the best practices of teaching and learning of the traditional classroom. Best practices that include assessing students, their prior knowledge on the present day's topic. Instruction, which includes modeling strategies and skills we expect students to learn and clearly understand. the practice of grouping students for learning during the work period of a lesson, allowing for collaboration and participation in student-to-student discussion, and how important a strategy this is in building critical thinking skills, the practice of eliciting questions in our traditional classrooms each day as we work to foster students' conceptual understanding of different topics. With the help of Dr. Pate and our district team, this work began last spring and continues each day in our school. It's a collaborative effort on the part of our teachers, administration, our district team, parents, and students alike. I'd like to introduce two of our wonderful math teachers that will be assisting this evening, Ms. Shannon Angada and Ms. Kayla DeMuro. Both teach algebra to our ENL, ESL students and students with special needs. They'll share with you the process by which we were able to transform our curriculum to the digital platform, as well as introduce some of the strategies we use in our digital math classrooms each day. So Ms. Angada and Ms. DeMuro, thank you for joining us, and I will hand it over to them.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Ms. DeMuro. So I'm going to be sharing a set of Google Slides just to go over some of the strategies that we've been using, especially in the math classroom, to help our students transition into virtual learning. So just to start off, we also do all of our collaboration remotely, obviously, when we're having our meetings. So our teacher teams, we discuss weekly through our common planning meetings to talk about our curriculum, to talk about our calendar throughout the week, depending on if it's synchronous or asynchronous learning. We share a lot of our lessons through our Google Drive, as well as our activities, our scaffolds. We talk about through our meetings as well, sharing strategies that worked, some strategies that we could improve upon, and anything that we found effective in our classroom. One of the main strategies we've been using this year to help keep structure for the students during virtual learning is Padlet. So this is an example. I have another one that I'm going to open so you could see it a little bit larger. But Padlet is an online resource where we have been able to follow our workshop model, which is what the students were used to in the traditional setting. So it's helped them to keep a structure to a lesson where we still have our warm-up, our quick check, our mini lesson, and then our work period, as well as their scaffolds. On Padlet, they're able to share with each other and discuss. I will just show you one on a regular screen. Hold on. So this is one from my algebra class, for example. So on the warm-up and the quick check, they're able to answer the question and then comment to each other, as well as the teacher leaves comments. So it's another way for them to engage in discussion, just because we were so used to having such a tremendous amount of discussion in the traditional math classroom. So we normally create a Padlet for each class, each lesson, where we incorporate the aim. They have the notes here in case they were absent. They could always reference back to this, or in case they needed it for another topic. The scaffolds they can also use here. So it kind of keeps all the information they need for one lesson together. So this is just one of the ways that we've tried to foster discussion, as well as keep everything organized for the students in the remote setting to follow our workshop model. So let me go back to present. Oops, sorry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Angada. Thank you again for having us share the different strategies that we've been using in our school this year. Another strategy I just wanted to add on to Mr. Muro is one that we have been using very often in our math classroom to follow off of Padlet. It also is a great way to incorporate our workshop model that our students are used to during traditional learning. So this strategy's name is called Nearpod, which is another online resource where you can take Google Slides and Smart Notebook files and input it into the website. So with Nearpod, when you are going through your lesson, you are able to add in different instructional activities throughout the entire lesson that the students are actively participating while learning remotely. So it's really a good way to keep the students engaged while they're on Zoom, and give in little quick points where you can ask assessment questions and also get their prior knowledge based on different conceptual understanding. So if we take a look here, I have a few pictures on the slides where the different activities that you can input into Nearpod. So one example here is a drawing board where you can see on the left side of the screen, a picture of a warm-up is listed for the students, and the students are able to, on their own individual screens, go in and write on the screen. So they can use a text box, they can use a pen or a pencil, and they can physically write on the screen and draw their work out. So that is there on the left side here. And then on the right side where it says quick assessment question, this is called a collaborative board where the students are able to view their classmates' answers to certain assessment questions at the same time. So it's a good way for students to see different strategies that their classmates worked on, because that was also a really important component of our instruction in traditional learning, where the students were working together a lot, getting input from their classmates, working in partners. So this collaborative board is very helpful for that. And then another type of activity that you can add into Nearpod is here a open-ended question, which you can see it's a little bit blurry here, but you can see that the students were writing their responses to the open-ended questions, and the teacher can actually share their answers to the rest of the student's screen so that they can see it. There are many different activities you can add in order to differentiate and also scaffold for certain populations of our students. So one example that I like to use with my E&L classes often are word banks, matching activities, and fill in the blanks to help with that mathematical vocabulary. So here I have just a quick instructional video of basically the way that the students would view Nearpod if they were signing in a daily lesson, and how we would go through the lesson. So if Mr. Muro, if you could just click play for that. Thank you.
So this is a screen that the students would view. So I have changed the mode to student mode so that we can look at it from a student's point of view. So they would click on the link for the Nearpod and then sign in with their name. So once they sign in, they would click join lesson. And then on my screen as an educator, I would see all of the students who have signed in so far and their names that they signed in as. And then on their screen, I can control which slide they are looking at. So right now on my screen, I'm seeing the warm-up slide, and I will take them next to the forum where they can now answer the question. So this activity is called an open-ended question, where they see the question here, and then they have the opportunity to type in their answers here, and then submit their work. So once they would submit their work, the teacher would see their answers on the screen, and the teachers could share certain student samples with the rest of the class so that it comes up on their screen and they can see what their classmates are also working on as well. So this is nice because they first have to write independently, and then you can give students access to see others' other responses. So once they finish the warm-up, we would continue going through our lesson. So I would go through, teach conceptual understanding, and then some quick assessment questions. This here is a quick question to just assess if they understood the conceptual understanding. So in here, I can now use another Nearpod activity. And in this case, I use the collaborate board, which right now it is not enabled because this is not a live session. But on the collaborate board, I do have a picture in this presentation on the previous slide of what the Collaborate board looks like. The students would type in their answers, and then all their answers would pop up on the same screen as Post-its, so that we can kind of see different responses, share and discuss similarities and differences between our responses. Then the teacher would continue going through your lesson. And at any point in a lesson, as a teacher, you can add in these little activities if you want to have the students actively participate, or if you want them to answer any assessment questions. So then lastly, we have our quick check. So the activity that I used for my specific class for this quick check was sentence stem, and they have a word bank on the bottom where they can take the words and drag them into the place. So if I tried and say, if I put this word here and it wasn't correct, the teacher would see on their screen if they were able to complete the sentence or not. So I can show you what that would look like. So if I did add some spaces here, you would drag each word to the correct space, click done, and it would tell you, oh no, you got 4 out of 6 answers correct. And then if you continue going through, you would see that you have finished the lesson. And it is really awesome that Nearpod gives this feature, because if a student is absent, or if a student misses a lesson for whatever reason, they are able to still use the student paced feature, which is what I just showed here. And they could still go through a whole lesson with the same assessment questions and activities, and the teacher can still see the data from their responses.
Okay, so continuing.
So this is a screen.
Sorry.
Thank you. So Nearpod has just been a really good online resource for us to use. It allows for differentiation, it allows for scaffolding, and it also gives us the opportunity to engage students in different activities on a daily basis. So switching things up and using the different models. And then just one other strategy that we would like to share for today are virtual whiteboards and Jamboards. So this has been a strategy we've been using virtually this year, once again, to try to create that normalcy for our students, because a lot of the times in the traditional classroom, what we like to do is use whiteboards physically where the students could write their work on and share their answers as groups. So the virtual whiteboards and Jamboard have been very useful for 2 ways. We've been using it for independent work where students can first try it out on their own, have some struggle time, work, show their work, and then the teacher can upload all of the whiteboards at the same time so that then the students have the opportunity to see their classmates' work. Or we also use Jamboard as a collaborative task. So one thing that we did do very often in traditional learning is work collaboratively on our tasks. So the Jamboard has been a great tool for us to have students working at the same time and still incorporate that discussion between one another and still give input to help come to one final answer. So on the next slide here, I have an example of a video of our students working on a Jamboard together. So they were working on a task and they were discussing back and forth how they were going through the problem. So that would be our next video.
All of us have our assignments for this collaborative board. So I have Liam, you are going to complete the key information. So anything you think is important about the problem. And then Jack and Nazir John, you guys are working on the steps together. Faruza, you are going to create an explanation. And then Mohammed, you're going to show the work in the tables that we use for this problem for rotations. Okay, so let's get started working together to help each other out with these steps.
How are we supposed to do number 1? So our first step is to find the first triangle on the graph that's located. So our first triangle coordinates is for 8, it's 1, 3. So do you agree with me, Najijan, that the A coordinate is 1, 3? Yeah, I agree with you because they got the same thing. Also,
Jack, just make sure you unmute. That's okay.
Sorry, so for B coordinate, I got 3 and 3, and C, I got 3 and 2. We found it because if you will look at the graph, we can see that the C located, and what we can look at the y-axis and the x-axis, we can see that all the coordinates are correct. So that's the John. What will happen if we will rotate the triangle 90-degree clockwise? The A coordinates will change to 3, -1, because like I found this because when I switch my paper, like rotate it, the coordinates of A is 3, -1. So like when I rotate it, it changes. Do you agree? Yes, I agree with you because I got the same answer. And that's the same with the other coordinates B and C. I got 3, -3, and 2, -3. So Jack, what will happen if we rotate it 180 degrees?
Okay, guys, so I'm just going to jump in here really quickly. So everything you're adding in.
Okay, so that was an example of how the Jamboard would work if the students were speaking and discussing with each other. We also made a quick video of a sped up version of Jamboard with other additional things being added into it. No, without any talking, just a reflection of kind of what happens through Jamboard. So students can draw, students can write, students can type on it. They could do it.
Excuse me 1 second, please. Sorry. Just want to give a quick time check.
Thank you. So Jamboard has just been a another good resource really to bring in that collaborative work. As you can hear, the students still discussing and adding in different pieces onto the platform. Thank you.
So the last thing we'll just talk about, especially, sorry, this keeps going. Here at Halsey that we do some additional strategies, which I'm sure many people use, is the breakout rooms on Zoom. So we use that if students have individual questions or if we want to try to do small group instruction to clarify any misconceptions. And one of the major things we've been focusing on this year is using Edpuzzle videos. Normally students are used to 90-minute math lessons. So now with only 40 to 45 minutes during a remote session, in order to help students and provide enough instruction, we've implemented the flipped classroom. So the flipped classroom is basically when students will watch a pre-recorded video the night before the lesson, and then the next day, whether it's in person or it's on a remote session, we will go over examples and then apply what they learned in the video. So the video focuses on vocabulary, fluency, talking about different methods to solving, the conceptual understanding, and then the next day we go over any misconceptions and do additional examples with them. And then any gaming we've also incorporated as well, such as Kahoot, Prodigy, Among Us, quizzes, and genial games to review topics on days that we're doing review.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, I was waiting for thank you. Okay, there it is. That's my cue that you're finished. Thank you so much, Principal Sarachi and team, for highlighting. You know, it's funny because every time we highlight schools, many times we highlight the elementary schools, right? And we don't remember the elementary school, the middle schools, and to see this level of work and in depth that your team goes into to make sure our students are well equipped and have access to the best technology. It's amazing. Reminds me of the Promethean boards in the schools, but it's live through the computer here. And we thank you for what you do, Principal Sarachi, and I'm sure all the other middle schools who are on board with us tonight, the fact that you have the permission now to open and be open to taking students, this is all relevant information here. And it sounds all too familiar with what you're doing. And we want to thank all the middle school principals and staff and teams that's on board tonight. We thank you. We thank you. Before we call our next speaker, I'd like to call on Ms. Bibi Matadin from FACE, who will just bring us really greetings and just give us any updates she has. Bibi?
Thank you, Vijay, and thank you to everyone. I'm really happy to be in community with all of you. Just a few quick updates and reminders for our CEC members and our families on here. Just remember our budget timelines are, upon us. They are due March 12th. And mark your calendars. We have some FACE professional development training coming up. March 6th, we will have the FACE training on translation and interpretation. I will drop the links in the chat. And we will be hosting a PAPTA bylaws virtual training on Tuesday, April 13th at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll drop the link in the chat also. And a reminder for our families that if you are participating in the kindergarten G&T program, that application period will open up between March 8th and April 9th, and you must include an interest form if you're interested in the program. For our pre-K parents and 3K, application period is open. There are some deadlines. We have deadlines April 7th for our pre-K student and our 3K student, April 30th. And last but not least, tonight is the night until 11:59. If you are interested in run, serve, and lead in our CEC councils, please complete an application. You can do that through your NISCA account. If you don't have one, please contact your parent coordinator and get one done. And you can apply to run for a CEC, whether it's a district CEC or a citywide council, by the end of tonight. Time is 11:59. All members must reapply if you want to run for a council. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, Bibi, for what you do. And also thank you for the amazing work you did with us. The long nights that we had with planning for our CEC Town Hall.
Of course.
Say we can't pay you, but we acknowledge you and we give you respect and thumbs up. You're phenomenal at what you do. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Just before we bring on our next speaker, my dear friends. So now, dear community, if you want to speak in the public comment section later on, at this time, we're going to leave the chat open to write the word speak. Just put the word speak, and then our team will be putting your name in the order in which you put the word speak. Then we can also call upon your name later on in the public comment section to ask a question, make a comment, and then we will call upon you later on. So now the chat is open to do so. It gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome our next guest, Assemblywoman Jennifer Rajkumar, who is representing, or currently right now, Assembly District 38, and she has a platform right now. Thank you for joining us tonight. Can we make her a co-host so she can unmute herself? Jennifer Rajkumar is her name. Give 1 second, Jennifer.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Jennifer Rajkumar, the new Assemblywoman for District 38. And first of all, I want to thank you, Vijay Ramjatan, my good friend. I have seen him in many capacities, leading the community in so many different ways. Good leaders are rare to find, so let's not take it for granted. Thank him for everything that he does. And to all the teachers, educators, and parents here, you really are what holds up our community. It really is the noblest endeavor to help sculpt our young minds. I can tell you that the reason that I am here as Assemblywoman is education. That's the reason I'm here. My parents, my family centered our household around education. And that's how I was brought up. Just because we're getting to know each other, I know some of you already, but some of you are new friends. My story is that my parents came here just with $300 in a suitcase from India and settled in New York, where I was born and raised. And they did center our household around education. And so whenever there was a fight in the house, we would solve it through the family court system. So one person would be a lawyer for one side, one person would be a lawyer for the other side, and we'd all gather in the kitchen, and one person would be a judge, and we would just argue it all out. And years later, I became a lawyer, and my mom still wonders why. So what I decided to do was dedicate my life to social justice, really to honor everything that this country gave to my family, all of the opportunity that we benefited from. And I want everybody to have that. I want all children to have an incredible education. I was able to go to UPenn and Stanford Law I was always a hard worker, and I want all the children to have full mentorship and to have full access to after school programs and enrichment programs that will give them that extra edge. So my office is always here to collaborate with any of you in education. If you're from the council and you're a teacher or a parent, you will definitely be welcome and get a meeting right away, because the education is top. That's number one. That is just a little bit about myself. A little bit more about my background is I used to work in government even before this. I worked for the state of New York, directing immigration for the state and serving as a lawyer for the state, helping to increase access to justice for underserved people in the legal system. And I was a civil rights lawyer before that. Also, I teach at CUNY as a professor. And it has always made such an impression upon me, the talent of the youth of our city. The youth of our city are just bursting with incredible potential and talent. And that has always inspired me. As a professor, when I had debates in the class, I taught political science, no surprise. And in the class, when the students would debate, they were better than members of the United States Congress. And there was just so much potential. So I'm looking forward to unlocking that potential with all of you, beginning at an early age for children. So now it has been 2 months that I have been Assembly member. I was sworn in January 1st. It has been quite a few 2 months. As Vijay said at the beginning, it has been almost a year now that we've been going through this pandemic. And the things that I have been doing this past year is my office set up a helpline that operates in 5 languages to meet the needs of the district. We have been getting food to families that are going hungry in their homes. We have been getting doctors on the phone for a year now to talk to people who are sick in their homes. And just before I came to you today, I was doing a food distribution in front of my office. We've already had several major food distributions where we were able to serve hundreds of people who are going hungry. And I'm proud to report that I just learned we'll be able to now do this on a regular basis. So I will keep you informed of those efforts. Also, I have authored my first bill, and that is to make a life-saving COVID-19 drug widely available. When Trump got COVID, he received a special antibody cocktail. That can be life-saving for vulnerable patients who contract the illness, but it's not widely available. And my bill aims to change that situation. I've already amassed 19 co-sponsors, different legislators, so I'm hopeful that this will happen. I also have been busy working on legislation. I've co-sponsored over 30 bills already in 2 months that aim to take us out of the health and economic crisis that we are now in. So ending the pandemic is the top priority of my office. We have the energy to help get it done. Vaccination appointments as well. It's always a proud moment for us when we're able to help a constituent secure a vaccination appointment. Also for seniors and elderly who don't have access to computers, they can always come to our office. We will help you secure a vaccination appointment and print out your papers. So we're always here for you for that as well. Please keep in mind that York College is now open for every zip code in Queens for vaccination appointments. I'm also advocating for the Aqueduct Racetrack site in South Ozone to have priority access for residents of South Queens. That is very important. For those who don't know, my office is on Woodhaven Boulevard, 8391 Woodhaven Boulevard or Park Lane South. We took over my predecessor's office and we painted it red. So please come by anytime because we are open even during COVID. And we also have expanded into weekend hours. So you can come Saturday as well from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We are putting together the state budget right now. Budgets are always due every year, April 1st. So it has been very busy in the state capitol, putting together that budget. And I want you to know that I have been busy doing the people's work. In budget hearings, I've been busy questioning the heads of state agencies on their budget plans to make sure that the money is allotted in a correct way that will benefit our district and meet our needs. South Ozone Park, Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, a lot of the neighborhoods that we all represent and care about and are from have been underserved and overlooked for a very long time. And the promise of my office is to change that situation and to bring in the resources that we need. When I ran for this office last year, people said, it's impossible. You'll never be able to win. But we did. And part of the reason is that we were there for our community at a time of crisis, and we're able to mobilize people that don't usually come out and vote at the polls. And I want to tell you, I want to express to you how grateful I am and honored to have this incredible opportunity to serve the community. I thank you for that. And I'm always here for you. Lastly, I just want to note that it is Women's History Month. A great American, Shirley Chisholm, once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring in a folding chair. I have had to bring in a folding chair many times in my life, but now I have a seat at the table of power, and that means we all have a seat at the table. So I'm here for you all the time. And as part of Women's History Month, I'm hosting an event at the end of the month to celebrate women in our community who make a difference, who are change makers and leaders. And I'm seeking nominations. So if you know anyone who makes a difference in our community and is a woman of distinction, please contact my office and put in your nomination. So thank you so much for having me tonight, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Rajkumar, representing the 38th District of New York State. We are grateful to have you here in your first year of service, and we are looking forward to always having our electeds join our platform to hear our parents' concerns and to listen to our voices too. And if your team can put your office information in our chat here, that'd be great, so that they can definitely come out and reach out to you. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving right along, my dear friends, we're going to go on to now Rosemary Kiladitis from the Queens Public Library. Rosemary, I apologize if I murdered your name. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's Kiladitis. It's
beautiful.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I would just like to thank everybody for coming, and I'd also like to echo what other speakers have said. Education is taking a hit, and with that, libraries are included in that. So please use Queens Library, visit Queens Library, talk about Queens Library. We're here, we are opening a few at a time, and I have a little slideshow, and I will let you know what we're up to these days. And I will probably be going through very quickly, but the slides will be available for everybody to see after the fact. And thank you again to Crystal for just kind of looking everything over and letting me know everything looked good. So Queens Library, what can you do right now? We're open, and I will have a list of open branches further down on this. We are open for grab and go service, which means you can request books online on the website. You can use our Queens Library app on your phone or your reader. You can also just call the library. I know we have a lot of senior citizens who don't have internet access. They call the library. They ask if they can get a book. That's fine. You can pick them up at Rego Park Library or at whatever library is open and closest to you. I know Forest Hills is also open. Richmond Hill is open. There are many branches that are open, and more will be coming. So you can request in advance and pick up your books. You can also return your books to the libraries. You can return your books through June. Anything that you've had out pre-pandemic, there's a grace period through June of this year. There are no overdue fines being assessed through June. Do not worry if you've had your books out from before the pandemic. I still have books sitting here from before the pandemic. It doesn't matter. Just bring them back. That's all we want. And we want you to be healthy. You will need a mask when you come in. If you don't, most of the libraries, we have security and the guard will provide one for you. It is the time of year you can pick up tax forms at Queen's Library. Many of us have tax forms waiting at the door or the pickup areas when you come in. If you do not see a form that you need, feel free to request one. Either, again, just call the library, or just ask at the desk and we can print one out for you really quick. Certain libraries have grab and go activities. At Rego Park, I had this cute little groundhog that you see here for Groundhog Day. And for middle schoolers, I have this adorable no-sew avocado craft. So a lot of us have grab and go crafts for the kids. You can come in. Some of us have them set up at the table. Some of us have them right behind the desk, but they'll be right there. We also have remote printing. You could pick up documents that you have. You can go to the main website, upload your documents, print them out, designate what library you want them sent to. You can go to the library and pick that up. Right now, what we cannot do is have browsing or in-person programs. And for that, I apologize, but hopefully that's coming back soon. This next slide is hard to read. I just put it here to let you know there is a process for making a print request. We have remote printing. You can go to the Queen's Library website, queenslibrary.org, and you can make your print request. So this is, you'll see this when you go to queenslibrary.org. How do I get a Queen's Library card? If you don't have one, we are not accepting in-person applications at the moment. So again, you can go to the queenslibrary.org website, click right there for Get an E-Card. You will go through the process. You will get an e-card number. With that, you can take advantage of everything Queen's Library has to offer. And if you want an actual physical card, visit your closest library, have your picture ID handy. I'll give you a card right there. Homework help. I know a lot of kids are having a hard time. They need homework help. It's not always available. Through the website, we have an organization, Brain Fuse. It's available through queenslibrary.org. We have live tutors from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day, so after school hours, and they're ready to help with math, science, ELA, social studies, and the state tests. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 to 11 p.m. And you only need your library card number and your PIN. And we also have a language lab, so there are tutors who can speak different languages. We also have over 40 databases available for varying levels of education. We have for the littlest ones, we have for high school, college, and beyond. We have over 40 databases, several of which I know are in Spanish. I do not know how many other languages we have. But right here, I just put a little screenshot of Britannica School Elementary. It's the Encyclopedia Britannica for the younger students. We also have Britannica Scholar for older students. We have Bookflix, which is a great readers database that actually reads the books to kids, and that is also available in English and Spanish. So I mentioned you can request books. How you do that is you go to the main website, queenslibrary.org. You click on that little magnifying glass, and you're going to get this menu right here. And you can type in, as you can see, keyword, author title, subject, ISBN. You can select, you can narrow your search. You want to see everything that has to do with dinosaurs, if you're like my 8-year-old son. Anything that we have that has to do with dinosaurs, or you can limit it to books, movies, and more. You can limit it to the calendar. Maybe we have a virtual program about dinosaurs that you'll want to know about. All different sorts of things, research, press releases. And from there, you will get a book detail page. So in this instance, I searched for the book, It Ain't So Awful Falafel. When you get to that page, you will also see you can log in to submit your request. And that's, again, your card number and your PIN. It'll tell you how many copies are available in the system. And from there, you can request it to be sent to the nearest open library by you. If you would like an ebook, you can see on the website, you can search and you will see the format ebook. In this case, we've got Ada Twist and the Perilous Pants. You can access that. If it's out, you can put a hold on it. But now I'm going to talk about an additional app. You can use the QPL app. It's a free download from both iPhone, Apple, and Samsung. With the Queen's Library app, you can browse ebooks, audiobooks, our program calendar. You can also use, if you don't feel like carrying around your card, or if you forget your card at home, the app has your card number. But if you are going to read an ebook, you cannot read it within the QPL app. For that, you will need to download this app, Overdrive. Libby is going to be overtaking Overdrive, I believe, this year, but for now you can use both Libby and Overdrive. I just happen to use Overdrive on my phone, so that's why it's on the slide. Overdrive is another free app available on all the platforms, and through this you can read books on, you can borrow and waitlist QPL books on your template, on your tablet, on your phone, on any device you have. There is no Overdrive app for your laptop or your PC, so it has to be on a mobile device. So if you want to read ebooks from Queen's Library, you need to have a mobile device, a tablet, laptop, tablet, phone, mobile. We have virtual programs. We have a story time 3 times a week, one of which is a bilingual story time on Fridays. We have a YouTube website where we have people like my friend Miss Alicia, who has her own little STEM program. We have Lego challenges that we do mostly on Facebook Live. We also do some Instagram programming, but the 2 big spots are Facebook Live and YouTube. And we have a bunch of videos on the YouTube Queen's Library area. I'm almost done. So we've got, these are the Queen's Library branches that are currently open. So we're getting there. We're about halfway there right now, and we'll be getting ready to open the next round of branches. I'm hoping in the next month or 2. I am currently at Rego Park right now because it's in my neighborhood, but my home is the Corona Library, which is still waiting to reopen. But as you can see, there are several branches nearby where you can request and visit and pick up books. All libraries are operating on the same schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, we are open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we close between 1 and 2 for cleaning. We are very serious about keeping clean, keeping safe, keeping healthy. On Tuesday, we are open from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We don't close because it's a short day. And on Thursday, it's our later day. We are open from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. and we close from 3 to 4 for cleaning. 3 of our sites are now COVID testing sites. So you can go visit Kew Garden Hills, which is it's on Lee Place. It's kind of like right off that little main street heading toward Union Turnpike dip. Lefferts on Lefferts Boulevard in South Richmond Hill, and Windsor Park in Bayside are all COVID testing sites. And you can visit nychealthandhospitals.org for more information. And the information for these sites are also on that site. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. That's my email address. And again, I will be making the slides available to post on the website. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure to speak to everybody.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. So much information. Oh my God, so much information. Sorry to bring you earlier on in the year, but we'll definitely keep your contact information to have you at least come on early in the year so our parents can know the wealth of information, especially in these times that is still available. I didn't know homework help was still there, which is amazing.
The homework help is fantastic. A lot of people have been very happy with BrainFuse, so I am thrilled to be able to talk about it. And as I said earlier, it's my pleasure. As I said earlier, please talk about Queen's Library, visit Queen's Library, log on and find us on Facebook.com. Yes. One of us is usually there acting like a crazy person singing and dancing or something.
Rosemary, can you please put your contact information in the chat? I'll appreciate that. And family and friends who are here, we'll have these slides up on our website for your convenience to really please take advantage of these resources in our community. Thank you again, Rosemary. Next, we have Terence Holiday, former New York City Commissioner of the Department of Veteran Services. At this time, sir, we ask you to unmute and please present. You should be a co-host.
There you go. Hi, good evening. Terry Holiday. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I'm on a special assignment with the New York City Department of Veteran Services, where we're reaching out to make certain that everybody knows what we're doing out there. We have a number of things, and I'm just going to touch base on a few things. And Crystal has my slides, and she'll make them available to everybody, and it has more specific information. But I have two things before I really want to get into it. First, I want to congratulate all of the parents, all of the educators, the challenging times that we're in, because they are in fact challenging times, and you guys are struggling to make certain that it gets done, and there'll be a better day. All right. And when I take a look at the work that you're doing, it's just mind-boggling to a product of St. John's University in the 1960s, and all of my other friends and what they were learning to do and what you're doing now. You know, it's really amazing. And just one other thing, when the director was talking about that landmark legislation case that came out that affected the funding, I was with the judge that made that initial rendered that initial judgment on the funding throughout New York State, Leland DeGrasse, and he's a Queens product. He also graduated from St. John's undergraduate. I think he went to Howard Law, but I also think he came out of Andrew Jackson. I'm not real sure about that, but I just wanted to sort of say that. As far as the Department of Veteran Services is concerned, we have a mission. And the mission, and our mission is to make certain that we provide direction and we help veterans, whether that veteran has an honorable discharge or something less. We're there to help them get resources, get their life online, and to see what they can do. We're not the Veterans Administration. We don't have the money to pay the benefits, but what we do have VA counselors as of August that will file claims for veterans, all right? And you may not know that not everybody who wore a uniform is entitled to veterans benefits. You must be honorably discharged to be served by the Veterans Administration. There are a few very small circumstances in which you can be, all right? But as far as the Department of Veteran Services is concerned, all right, we don't care about your status of your discharge, whether it's honorable, whether it's general, whether it's less than honorable. If you knock on our door, we're there to try to help you as best as we can to link you up with whatever benefits are out there or whatever services are out there. Now, today, what we're trying to focus on are the insecurities of food, housing, and economic. I want to tell you that, also, let me just tell you that I lived in Jamaica from 1963 through about 1976. And in fact, I was a president of a civics association. So I had been to a couple of District 28 meetings a long time ago, before some of you were probably born, you know. But in any event, I found myself when I came back again last January, reaching out to some of the Southeast Queens organizations that were helping out with the food pantries. There were food pantries in Springfield Gardens run by the Veterans of Foreign Wars. There's the American Legion in Cambria Heights, the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign War located up in Rosedale. So what happened is that they had these food programs, Leroy Barnes and Sharon Sweeting Lindsay. They're feeding about 4,000 or 5,000 people. I think that's too much. About 3,000 people on a weekly basis. The Department of Veteran Services got involved in Feed NYC, and we were helping out with a HelloFresh project in Brooklyn. We still are. Every Wednesday, we're there helping packaging meals, and those meals get out to people. And on Saturdays, we're in the Bronx and we're unloading boxes of food from trucks for the from the USDA so that the people in the Bronx have an opportunity to get fresh fruit, vegetables, some frozen meats, some milk. And it's really amazing to see the insecurity that people have with food. Since I got involved with these programs about 7-8 months ago, I began to notice around the city that this is we're not, no community is immune from this. All right, but it's just going to keep on continuing, and even after we're finished with COVID-19, I believe it's going to continue because we've lost jobs where we're trying to help people with that. There are a couple of other things that I just wanted to sort of get to. When we talked about housing, we're helping veterans get into permanent housing. We just housed our 1,000th veteran in permanent housing about 10 days ago. And so we're doing that, and we're following up with aftercare. There are a number of other things that we're doing. We've just embarked on a program similar to one that was in Staten Island, where we were identifying mental health issues, how we can approach it so that we can make certain that we have a very consistent approach for when somebody has an issue in the street and emergency people have to respond. How do they respond? When they get to a hospital, what do they do? It's been going on since April of last year in Staten Island, and it is just beginning in Queens. So we feel pretty good about ourselves with what we're doing there. I mentioned before that we now have 7 VA counselors through New York State, and we can institute claims for people. We can follow up on claims. We can do a number of things. In June, we had something called a veterans check, a vet check. And my agency partnered up with the New York National Guard. And we were calling people. We made about 30,000 plus calls. We had about 18,000 contacts. And out of that, we had 700 to 800 needs for service. And I must tell you, there was one service where we had some cantankerous vet, really more cantankerous than me, right? So the guy got on, and there were a couple of things that he said. Somebody handed me the phone, and we had somebody follow up with him. And apparently he had filed a claim with the VA right after the first Gulf War in 1992. And they sort of fell through the cracks, nothing happened. So we contacted some people who contacted some people, and now his claim is now pending. And what that means to any veteran, it's that if this claim goes through at the time that it goes back to when he first filed it, which was 1992, 1993. So if he's successful in his claim, and we think that he will be for an annuity, it's going to go back to 1992. So there's more that I can tell you, but it's a long evening and I don't want to make it any longer for you. Just take a look at everything. I'll put my contact in the chat room, but you also will be getting something with the slides that I was going to show tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Holiday, for being here. And one of the groups in our community who are always left behind, sadly, is our veterans. I'm happy that we were able to provide a platform to bring information and also contact. Should anyone of you in the community have any questions about any kind of services for veterans, Mr. Holiday's information will be on our website, and it'll also be on the chat here. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Good evening,
everybody. Good evening. Last but not least, my dear friends, once again, if you would like to speak or make a comment on the tonight's public comment section, please put the word "speak" in the comment section here, and we'll call your name in the order which was received. It will be closing very soon before you can do so. So last but not least, we have Mr. Ted Chang, who will be doing a presentation on a resolution on PS48 and the school's trouble is called in Jamaica over segregated schools. Ted Chang. And after which we'll go into public comment section.
Okay, everyone. Hi, this is Ted Chang, and I am the chair of the CEC28 Equity Committee. I'm going to be speaking about PS48 and the school troubles in Jamaica over segregated schools. So this is a resolution. I just put it into the chat. After I give this just talk, there'll be opportunity for public comment. And then during the business meeting, the members will discuss and vote on the resolution. If anyone is interested in some of the topics that the Equity Committee covers, and there's a lot of different topics that we cover, disabilities and marginalized students. There's just a whole range of topics in regards to what equity means. Feel free to look up the page on the website and get in contact with us. So PS48 is a school in our district, but what's really interesting is that when racial segregation was legal in New York schools, PS48 was actually a segregated school. And here you can see a picture of the old wooden school building that it was housed in. That building is no longer here. They eventually rebuilt PS48 as a really amazing and much larger building. But this was the original PS48. And then shortly after the events that took place, it was desegregated. So the school troubles in Jamaica, New York, is basically a story where Black families challenged the racial segregation of schools. And I found it very fascinating that it's not a well-known story today, and I'm not really sure why that is, but I just felt that it's an important story. It needs to be retold so that it's not forgotten. So if we look at the New York laws of 1894, and this statute actually dates back to at least 1864 and perhaps earlier, there's some really, really interesting and artful language in the statute, which I could spend a lot of time talking about. But probably the most important part is the last bullet point here, which is that it created separate, quote unquote, separate schools. And those schools would be, quote, supported in the same manner as the school or schools supported therein for white children. So I think this really gives you a sense for sort of the ideas that were prevailing at the time, which is that we could separate students into these racially different groups as long as we gave them equal resources and gave them equal facilities. And as long as you did that, then that was considered acceptable in that era. At least it was acceptable to the people that ran, the New York State government at that time. Certainly was not acceptable to the Black Jamaica families that engaged in activism. So what happened is that these Black families started filing lawsuits and trying to seek the right to attend schools that were attended by white children. And I cannot overemphasize how much courage this took. Some of them were faced with $500 judgments, which in 1896 money, is equivalent to almost $16,000 today. So just, if you think about the financial implications alone, but in addition to that, they were subjected to criminal truancy arrests. And, today, that may be, you may view that through a certain lens, but you have to remember in 1896, that was only, 30 years after the Civil War, and the status of Black people was very tenuous. I mean, slavery had only just ended. So to face the wrath of a criminal arrest, I mean, that must have taken a lot of courage. So in 1896, these families decided to boycott PS48, which again is a school in our district. 80 to 90 children were not attending PS48. Now enter the scene of Elizabeth Cisco of Jamaica, New York. She refused to send one of her children to PS48. And over the course of 4 years, first her husband, Samuel Cisco, was arrested. But then, and as their case was going through the courts, he passes away. And so after that, they arrest Elizabeth Cisco herself. And finally, her case makes its way through the courts and ends up at the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York State in terms of New York law. So in February 1900, the Court of Appeals rules on her case and rules against Elizabeth Cisco and her claim to being able to attend schools that white children attend. The court rules that de jure racially segregated schools are in fact lawful under the New York State Constitution. And the language that they use echoes the US Supreme Court's 1896 separate but equal opinion in Plessy v. Ferguson, which is a notorious and infamous case in US constitutional history. And so I'll just read from the Court of Appeals opinion. The claim is that they were excluded from one or more particular schools which they desired to attend, and that they possessed the legal right to attend those schools, although they were given equal accommodations and advantages in another and separate school. We find nothing in the Constitution, meaning the New York Constitution. And so again, this idea that as long as they provide an opportunity somewhere separately and equally, then segregation is lawful in the schools. So what happens next is, and while this case was making its way through the courts, the school authorities were busy remodeling PS 48. They built a new addition, they added water supply lines, wash basins, toilet rooms, heaters. And finally, shortly after the Court of Appeals decision comes out, in March 1900, they reopen the school. It's a gleaming and shiny school that is even better than the school that the white children go to, but it's still segregated. And so in this way, the school authorities comply with this concept of separate but equal, which is that as long as we provide equal facilities and equal resources, we can keep the races separate. But what's quite interesting is that Elizabeth Cisco and the majority of other Black families continue to be absent at the reopening of the school. So there's sort of a symbolic protest there. They're still not happy with the outcome. So what happens then is that immediately after, a bill to abolish segregated schools goes to Albany. And this bill is actually written by the attorney that represented Elizabeth Cisco. He was a former member of the New York Assembly. And so he obviously knew how to write legislative bills. And so whether it was coincidence, we're not really sure, I guess, or I'm not sure. But he gets a bill, it's sponsored, and it makes its way through the New York Senate, then the Assembly, and finally, Governor Roosevelt signs it into law. And the headline was "No Color Line in Schools." And the governor actually gets credit. They say that it was a New York City bill and that he expanded the scope of the bill to all of New York State. So, basically the question is, was it a victory? And in the wins column, you could say that it abolished the law allowing schools to explicitly segregate by race. And in a sense, that's a really stunning legislative victory that, families representing 80 to 90 children in Jamaica, New York, in our district, District 28, which didn't exist back then, but 80, 90 Black children of Black families in Jamaica, New York, were able to go from their court case, which had been reported on in the newspapers, and then go from that to a legislative victory in Albany. That's in the win column. In the losses column, they faced continued losses in state and federal courts. And that's because of that doctrine that we talked about, separate but equal. That remains the law of the land for another half century. And so throughout in the federal courts, as well as many state courts, it's an accepted view that as long as we provide equal resources to schools and equal facilities, then racial segregation is lawful. Now, if we move forward a little bit later in time, the anti-segregation forces win a big victory 54 years later. And that's in Brown versus Board of Education, which is a famous segregation case that everyone knows about. And that is the case where separate but equal is overturned.
Time check.
And in the losses column is the segregation hydra. A hydra is sort of I believe it's a 9-headed serpent that every time you cut off its head, the head regrows itself. And so the question from 1900 and then Brown versus Board of Education and through many other similar cases, somehow does segregation seem to reemerge but with different rationales, different justifications, different policies, different contributing factors, but always the same result, some kind of racial segregation. And so I think there are a lot of interesting questions here for policymakers, for students, for families, and I'll just leave it at that. So we will discuss this later in the business meeting, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. This is a really unique piece of District 28 history, and it's worth remembering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, without further ado, we'll go to the public comment section at this time. If you can stop sharing that, Ted, I'll appreciate that. And when you hear your name, you can just be prepared to make a comment. You have 3 minutes to do what you have to do. And thank you for bringing this history of our district to light, Ted. We will discuss more of this in our business meeting and vote on the resolution. I wish you had just said what the resolution is stating so the community will know. Do you have be it resolved? Can you just say the be it resolved part, Ted, really quickly? It's important that our community knows what that is asking, because you did say it's a resolution. Be it resolved what?
Yeah, sorry, let me pull it up here. Yes, so the be it resolved piece says, resolve that the Community Education Council District 28 supports remembering Black history by recounting an important historical story about the activism of Black families in Jamaica and New York. And then the rest of the resolution essentially recounts the story and includes all the historical exhibits that I had in my presentation.
Totally. I think every year when we have our CEC, we should recount the story for Black History Month. It's very important to understand the sacrifice of all of our people, what they have done for us to have the luxuries that we have today. Thank you so much, Ted. I appreciate it. Okay, moving right along, we have our speakers. Our first speaker tonight we have is our family is Anna Solomon. Then it'll be Kathy Raskin and Heather Beer-Dimitris, and then Simon Donbark, followed by Principal Signal. So just be prepared. First, we'll have Anna Solomon. 3 minutes.
There.
Howard, can you do time, please, for us? 3 minutes timing, Howard. Thank you.
I won't need 3 minutes.
Thank you.
So my name's Anna Solomon. I am the co-president of the Parents Association at PS 144. I serve on our President's Council for the district. I am a member of our SLT, and I love our school. I'm so grateful that my children are in such a wonderful school. And I am extremely frustrated with the state of hybrid learning. My children are having an awful year, and I don't understand why we are not talking about how we as parents can collectively get together and push for a full-time school reopening in the fall. That's really, I'm working with people on social media. I reach out to my elected officials, and every time I'm on one of these district-wide extended meetings, I'm shocked and upset that we're not talking about how to get schools reopened for our children, which they desperately need. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thanks for what you do. We do have a back to school committee, and the chair is Elena Amanova. I'm sure she's taking notes. Please do reach out to her from our CEC, and she could definitely discuss what we can do as a CEC, but definitely echo that sentiment through writing to us via email. That'd be amazing. Thank you so much. Next person we have is Kathy Raskin. Kathy?
Hi, good evening. My name is Katie Rask, and I'm sorry my camera is not working today. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. I wanted to just, great. I wanted to just say that I agree completely with Ms. Solomon's statement about schools reopening full-time. I know that other states have done it, and I know that they are making a push to have in-person learning 5 days a week. And I agree that maybe we should have more parents get together and try to do something to promote this to happen faster. If we could reach out and get together, maybe is there somewhere information that you can provide to us parents that we could do something to have schools reopen as soon as possible? And also I wanted to say, in terms of the budget, what else can we do aside from reaching out to the governor's office in writing to make sure that the district does get more funding? So that's what I wanted. Those are the two issues: reopening schools and then making sure that the schools do have all the resources that they need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking. We appreciate it, and our team is listening. And also, always feel free to email and reach out to our district office, our superintendent and her team. If you email and express your concerns, our team and the district, I'm sure they are listening too. Thank you. Heather Beers Dimitriadis. You had it for a second. There you go.
There. I think we were both chasing each other on the button. Tonight, I'm here in my capacity as Community Board 6 co-chair on education, youth, and libraries. Just as a note, that library presentation was just amazing tonight. That was just really fantastic. But tonight, I'm here to first thank you all for your leadership through this very, very hard past year. I want to say that the equipping that has occurred in this space is just fantastic. This evening, Community Board 6 wanted to raise to your attention our concern about the impact that capacity construction has had on our local parks and playgrounds. The recent completion of the PS 144 expansion and the upcoming completion of expansions at PS 206 and PS 196 have all reduced the available play space to the immediate neighborhoods, some less than others, some more than others. And now PS 174 is set to do the same. Our parks and playgrounds are precious. During the course of this past year, they have been a lifeline to neighbors seeking space, fresh air, and exercise. Ideally, we would like to see this practice halted. Capacity construction is essential, but we believe that robust engagement with both the CEC and local community boards could render a solution that both provides essential classroom space and existing playgrounds. We are asking for your partnership on this very important issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just again, please do email us and let us know how we can support and what we can do as a CEC to support initiatives of our community members and various organizations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next we're going to have is Simone Donbark. Simone.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Simone Dornbach. I'm the PTA co-president of PS303, the Academy for Excellence Through the Arts in Forest Hills. And I would like to inform the parents here today that we will have a pre-K open house next Friday, March 12th. at 10 a.m. And please, if you have pre-K age children, feel free to join the meeting. Elena or I may be dropping the link into the chat. And I would also like to say thank you to all of you CEC members for bringing up our question from 303 in regards to becoming the full district-wide school that we used to be in the past. I really appreciate that that question was brought up and addressed, and that we were heard. So thank you very much, and a big thank you also to Dr. Pate for supporting our cause and for being an ally and getting our school back to a district-wide school. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Great seeing you, Simone, and to all of our families who are here. Thank you for all the work that you do in your various capacities. You're also leaders in our community, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have Principal Robin Signal, another great leader in our community.
Yes, hi everybody. I'll be very quick. Thank you for all of the information for tonight. It's just amazing. I want to shout out to the other principals that are with us, and thank you for this awesome CEC for bringing some very informative presentations to the community. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have the joint public hearing next week, and we are very excited as being a part of PS 140 that we've been selected, that we will be potentially housing a D75 program in South Jamaica. Now that we've looked at some of the history of South Jamaica, we hope that it creates a bridge from the north to the south, that it opens up more seats throughout the district. We're looking forward to be able to add this to our community, and we are doing a lot of talk around potentially having a Spanish dual language program that will potentially be starting for September, as well as for September 2022, we're looking for a Bangla program. So we are really growing, and we're going to have different open houses over the next couple of weeks. But the immediate concern is please don't leave me by myself, D28. We'll be at the joint public hearing next week and let them vote on if they will be placing a D75 within our school community. And it is next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that you do and your amazing school. Can you please, if you can, put the link to the information on our chat, and also send it to the CC. Ms. Kreyòl Ayisyen will have it on our website, so families can also go there, get the information to let's get this D75 school at her school under great leadership. I think it'll be a blessing to have in our community. Looking forward to that. Next, we're going to have our last public comment section is Christine Stephen. Christine.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I was literally trying to unmute there. Big thank you to Mr. Chang for that presentation. What I have to say will definitely go over 3 minutes, but I'll try to encompass quite a few things that has touched me in regards to what Mr. Chang had presented. Based off of the history, I know that they've been fighting a lot for this. However, I don't think we were anywhere near that resolution. And I'm hoping that we will continue that down the road and hopefully get there one day, because there is no equality within the school system as far as a parent, from a parent's point of view. In regards to the health, I don't believe a lot of parents are realizing that we're still technically in a pandemic with a lot of variants out there. And for me, our family was affected by the virus. And my uncle literally just got out of the hospital after spending a weekend there, can barely walk. So it is a very serious thing to consider. Death is not something we could come back from. So I'm hoping that as much as we can push forward towards getting back to some normalcy within schools, which I do love the in-person schooling for our children, I feel we really need to also take into consideration what that implication is for our teachers, for the staff, and for our children if they were to resume full-time schooling. Another thing I noticed with the budget that was presented, you guys are not getting enough funding for that. I am not even sure who to kind of like go to in regards to that. I know that there are a lot of budget cuts this year, or this past year, I should say, but education is something that is for the country's future, regardless of anything else. I mean, health, yes, obviously comes first, but I'm noticing that a lot of it is being spent elsewhere that's irrelevant. Is there any way to focus on the relevancy surrounding education rather than those other things within, say, for example, a neighborhood that's already well put together? Can we not somehow divert those funds to neighborhoods that still needs it, rather than only looking at the population rate for that particular district or that particular area? Can we work on getting those schools, for example, back up to where it needs to be, rather than, okay, we can only fund this school this because you have X amount of students? Because a building is always going to be a building. We need the resources in there. I'm sorry, is my time up?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. That was a lot of information, but crucial information. Thank you for echoing your voice, and we hear you. Thank you so much. We need to hear all voices in our community. And I want to always say to all of you, family, principals, parents, stakeholders in the district, CEC28 wants to hear your voice. So please do come on and always say something. I'm going to ask all the principals if you can please unmute at this time. If I see you, let's call up on you to say hi, your name, and which school you're from. So Principal Pat Mitchell, I'm actually to unmute you really quickly. Principal Greg will also unmute you. So just say hi, which school you with, and
hey, PS48, the best one in Queens. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, it's John Grego from Junior High School 190, Russell Sage.
Okay. If you all, any of your colleagues here, tell me so I can unmute them. Who else is here? Any other principals? I'm sorry. If you can raise your hand, that'd be great. Raise your hand in the participant thing. I can see you there. I can definitely call unmute you. Principals. Who else? Anyone else? Okay. Okay, I think we have a few others here. I know we have a bunch of assistant principals on. I see Kiana Mays is here, and other ones from the various school. Principal Arena Manjares is here too. I just asked you to unmute. You can say hi really quickly.
Marina.
Maybe she stepped away. And I want to just acknowledge our amazing President's Council co-presidents, Barbara Williams, and we have Jessica Zillo. Jessica, can you please unmute and say hi really quickly?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. Jessica? Okay, so maybe Jessica stepped away. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our calendar meeting tonight, even though we had a very full and robust calendar tonight of presenters. We did great by really finishing by 8:30.
Sorry, VJ, Jessica's Zoom went out, so she got kicked off.
Is she back in now?
No, she's not back yet.
Okay, that's totally
off, so she'll be
no
back.
problem. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So, and other principals, please, in the future, whenever you come on board to our meetings, just put the word principal next to your name so we'll know that you are a principal in our district. We will really want to, we always want to highlight your presence and let you know that we are grateful for you being here with us. To all of our administrative for the various schools, we thank you for being here. To all of our elected officials and this team who are here, Sandra's Keller, we had Harris Khan who was here earlier on. We want to thank all of you for joining us and being here for our school boards, for our community boards. We thank you. Parents, we thank you. And CC members, we thank you for the great job that you're doing. And we will be starting our business meeting at 8:45, which is in 4 minutes. So this time you can all unmute yourself. Can we please allow everyone to unmute? And they can say the goodbyes to all our presenters who came on tonight and presented. We are so grateful to you. And we thank you for spending this evening with us here. And we're going to keep going, keep tracking the grade 28. Okay. I'll say goodbye this time. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Sonia
Good
Rueda.
night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Andy, you don't have
Thanks,
to go
Sonia
anywhere.
Rueda, who is here. Sonia. We didn't call any. I apologize.
Yes, Elena? What you said just now?
I said, Andy, do not go anywhere.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
We had a lot of APs today.
Oh my gosh, I'm just seeing some of these thank yous in the chat. So thank you everyone for listening to my presentation.
Great job.
I was afraid I would, go overtime or whatever. So appreciate
You
it.
went over time, but it was great. Thank you. It was a great. I did not know, so thank you for bringing that up. And I hope every year at every Black History Month we do highlight that story. And if whoever is president here, someone else, another parent, please, I hope that we can retell a story once.
Yeah, we're here for education, right?
It was a full-on history lesson, Ted. So thank you.
And
No, but
this month is Women's History Month now, so
Yes, March 8th is coming up too. The
March 8th,
International
yes.
Women's Day.
Okay, we have all the members here. We have Robert is here.
So you're not giving us much break time, huh, VG?
No, we got to get this going. It's great.
Hi, VJ.
Hello. Oh, there you are. Yes, we were calling you to say hi.
I was here this whole time, but I was looking at the links in the chat, and then I'm on an iPad today, not my computer. So then I couldn't find my buttons. I had to call my husband. I was like, I'm like lost in like the iPad world. But thank you so much for having the meetings always. It was a wonderful meeting today. Thank you for that.
Well, thanks for what you're doing. How was your school doing, Ms. Majares?
Well, we're actually now on a 10-day closure. We closed. We got word we're closed until Friday the 13th. So.
Oh wow.
But so I know that's really a hardship, like for our families and our students. It's like, whoa, it's 10 days, and we are planning to partner again. We are back with our After School Plus program because we're extending the day so this way, really to help our families and help our children have the entire day. So we were set to do that March 15th. So now we're going to work around it, but we'll get it done.
Tough year. I mean, all the switching back and forth. It's like, I can imagine. It's so much on your plate, like on you and all the principals.
For our babies, our families, But
Totally.
Thank you so much, Vijay. All right,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Okay,
so it's 8:45 now. At this time, we'll start our business meeting. Good afternoon, everyone. For everyone who is on board here, families, parents, anyone else who are on listen to the business meeting, exactly that. You can listen to the business meeting, but this is a business meeting only for the council members, which meaning only the council members can speak. We'll ask you to refrain from using the reaction button as we undo our meeting. So we can really have no interference from the public. We appreciate that. So I will do a quick roll call to commence this meeting. It's time now is 8:46 p.m. We will now call the session, this business meeting. All right. Vijay Ramjan here. Barbara Williams. You're muted.
Sorry, VJ, I'm here.
Elena Amenova.
Here, the chat has been disabled as well as the ability to unmute themselves.
Thank you so much. Nigel, I'll call you back. Erica Cooper. You're muted. Is Erica not given rights to unmute? Can we show all council members have that?
I wasn't able to unmute. Thank you. I'm present.
Thank you. Elena, did I call you? Elena, I'm sorry.
You did call me. I think Erica left and came back. That's why I didn't make her co-host.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's all fixed now.
Okay. Andy Mealis King.
I'm here.
Awesome. All the way in Maryland. Thank you for being here from Maryland. you Andy, I tell you, you go around. All right. Ted Chang.
I'm here.
Michael Morrison is excused. Robert Tamayev.
Here.
Howard Pollock.
Present.
And Rajwinder Kaur.
Present.
Awesome. Welcome to all of you. First, I want to start off by saying a big congratulations to Robert on the new addition to his family. And but baby bouncing about.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, there he is. He's talking already.
Oh my goodness.
That's the other one.
Well, you gotta get two birds now, Robert. I put in a picture. Not one bird, two birds now. So yes, we're always delivering CEC28, like we said before. So thank you so much. I want to move it right along into our agenda so we can just continue on in the great pace that we have been doing. At this time, we will do the approval of the minutes. Can we have the minutes on the screen, please? Crystal Weiss, thank you so much. Want to announce Crystal got some new glasses and they look amazing. She is showing them off on the Zoom platform. She around so you can really highlight in the front and it's looking great.
My God, I'm not getting anything new, VJ. Nothing is new.
Yeah, that pouch you got in the back there. I mean, did you have it washed?
I like it.
That plant you have is an ever-given plant. It never grows dry in the back. Here's the minutes for everyone. Please review it. You had a copy of this via email.
See, I added the questions in here. Oh, you all saw that already.
Oh, God. Is that the bottom of it? We good?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Yeah, just keep scrolling all the way down, Chris. Let's at least once through the whole thing. So it's shown on the screen, please.
I second Elena's motion to accept the minutes.
Perfect. All right, so anyone, how do we vote? Anyone disagree? Is good to go? Everyone good on board?
Yes.
All fine.
All fine.
Aye.
Aye, Robert?
Yes, aye.
Thank you so much, Erica. I think you said yes already. Thank you so much. Minutes. Thank you. Minutes have passed. Thank you. Modification.
Okie dokes. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen once more. Okay. So I actually, I just emailed this to everyone as well. This is, I'll just go over it really quickly. Hold on a second here. All right. So in the beginning of the year, we started with the 25,000. And I just broke down all of the lines we have in our budget, what expenditures were made throughout the year. And it also includes any movements we made. So what I really want you guys to focus on is this funds remaining line, right? So for the equipment, we have $1,018.44 left. That's including the payments for the computer and data services, and also the removal of $9,000, which we moved to member reimbursements. So we have that left. We paid for all of the website services for the year, so that line is depleted. We have the $1,656 for the copier, which we will not be using. You know, we haven't been in the office. I spoke with the vendor, and we actually paid up all of costs that we had prior. So we're pretty much squared away with them. So that's free money that we can use. For member reimbursements, we have $6,074 left. Now, this is taking into account the expenditures we actually made for a few members that claimed internet reimbursements. And this is for the remaining 6 months of those members, which is yet to come out. So they'll be processed throughout the rest of the year. We have the P card here, which is, as a reminder, that's our CEC debit card. So this is the card that we can use for supplies for the office for future use. And then last but not least, we have the Zoom license here, which we allocated money. We still are a little short, so I'm going to go over that in a second. Now, with that being said, with all of our expenditures currently and future expenditures, we'll have total remaining funds for the year of $8,648.44. So I'll go into detail about that in a second. But as far as everything goes, this is what I'll be proposing to everyone to consider and vote on. So I am proposing that for the P card, that we use all of those funds to purchase supplies for future use for the office, including and not limited to antibacterial wipes, any other cleaning supplies, masks, paper, notepads, pens, staples, glue, everything. I feel like it would be best that we just deplete that card and buy everything that we need so we have it. If we return to the office before then, we could utilize that as a council, but we'll always have that. Proposing move 100 for member reimbursements to Zoom. That's to cover that negative balance in there and to satisfy the rest of the costs for the remainder of the year until June. Proposing to move the $1,656 from the copier lease line to member reimbursements, and move the remaining $1,018.44 from equipment to member reimbursements. So with that being said, we'll have the full $8,648.44 to not only well, that's taken into account future expenditures, but in case any other members would like to claim any of their internet costs, we'll have that there. Now, I'm sure everyone's wondering, well, where's the rest of this money going to go? You know, since we're virtual, you know, our hands are tied in terms of how we could spend the money, because remember, it is tax levy funds. So there are a lot of red tape as far as what we could use it on. But I did receive correspondence from BB and from the district office about the remaining funds. So I sent this email to everyone. I don't know if you saw it, but I just took out the portion of how we can reallocate the money that we have left over. That would be that 8,000 plus. So first option here, education councils may request to distribute part or all funding to a district office for whatever allowable purposes are deemed necessary by the superintendent. If the superintendent and COO approves the request, the superintendent will provide the education council with an explanation of how the funds were spent and supporting documentation. Second option, We may request to purchase and ship goods, examples such as hotspots, electronic devices, headphones, keyboard supplies to a district office for distribution at the discretion of the superintendent. If the superintendent and chief operating officer approves the request, the superintendent will provide the education council with an explanation of how the funds were spent and supporting documentation. And lastly, we may request to distribute part or oral funding to a central office for whatever purposes are deemed necessary by the office head. If the office head and chief operating officer approve the request, the office head will provide the council with an explanation of how the funds were spent and supporting documentation. So, and also just to note, I had a conversation with Andy, so we were in agreement that this is a good way to allocate the rest of the funds for the remainder of the year. With you guys' input, I can take that to the SGO and we could talk about that process in more detail about how it works, but then also with everyone here, how you would like to have the remaining funds spent and in which way.
Thank you, Crystal, so much for doing this. This is great. I mean, I think your plan that you have outlined here is good. I think we have to use it to lose it kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we should definitely so make sure we have supplies, right? We have the budgets right now. We don't know what the budget can look like next year. We just don't know. So
right.
Right now, we should definitely stock up on supplies for the office. Presuming we will be going back to the office whenever we do. And then the additional funds, can you go to the second, to the other, the reallocation? What you have?
Oh, this is like, hold on one second.
Which option did you and which option did you and Andy was really going towards?
I mean, we didn't pick one.
We didn't hit one of the options
specifically.
Yeah, but we just decided that we're gonna give the money back to the schools that would leave back after she have bought up all the supplies.
Totally. I think definitely we should definitely give this back to Dr. Pate, unless she will determine which school could use these supplies or funds to buy things for the school itself. I think her and her team can have a good idea with that. But other council members, what are your thoughts?
So are the two, I'm sorry if I just kind of missed the explanation, but like, so are we basically considering spending it on office supplies, and I forget there were 2 or 3 other things on the bottom of that spreadsheet, or giving it back to the district office? Are those the 2 options right now?
That's
yes,
correct.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I think we're gonna use some of the funds already here of the $8,648.44. We're gonna use $101,656 and then $1,018 for the cost here, and then the remaining of that money will go towards, right, Crystal, Dr. Pate, and
yes.
Great.
So what would go back would be the $8,648, and the supplies that will come out of this.
The P card that we have here, right?
Right.
So you're saying we would do all these things? The $4,500 from the P card is already accounted for, and then plus moving like about 2,600 into member reimbursements, and then after all that, we still have 8,600.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, and that 8,600. With you guys' vote, that all would be in the member reimbursements line, because I mean, there was really no, how can I explain this? The member reimbursements, this will account for whatever's, if anyone claims anything else. So this 22, that's for future expenditures, that's already accounted for. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So let's just vote. Let's go. I think you gave a very thorough explanation, and this was also sent via email. So I'm just going to go to the list here, and we're going to vote that with this current plan again. to the $8,640.44 will go to Dr. Pate's office, and they will determine how they spend that for the need of the district. Because or else the other option is to not do that and have the money go back to the DOE to use in some other district or for some other purpose that we have no control over. At least back to our district.
VJ. I'm sorry, VJ. It's not gonna happen. We're going to Dr. Pate, and the money is gonna use in our district. VJ, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we have to give totally. I mean, that's what we're voting right now. So we get opinion, right? So VJ,
I have a question about the office supplies and the $4,500. I mean, that just seems like an awful lot of money to like preemptively spend on office supplies. You know, like I've been hearing that there are schools that are just, you know, spilling over with, you know, cleaner and antiseptic and wipes and masks and things like that. So like, so I have a feeling that like that stuff, you know, we could just get from the schools in the district when they have leftover. So, I mean, do you actually have a concrete list of things that you want to buy that would total $4,500?
I have a tentative list. I mean, keep in mind, it's for our office, the district office itself. I don't know how it works when it comes to a surplus in other schools, if they could just donate it. I'm not sure how, I don't think that's something that's possible. I mean, $4,500 is a lot of money. What would you think would be more reasonable?
I mean, if you had a tentative list, then like, you know, I mean, I mean, I just can't imagine that like you're actually gonna, I mean, everything's electronic now, like nobody even, a lot of stuff is just done by email, you know, so like the actual, you know, and then, you know, the big things we might need to spend money on would be like the printers or like, you know, things like that, but those are already contracted. So unless it was like a big equipment expense, I just have trouble imagining spending $4,500 preemptively like this. Like I think we should trim that. I would trim that number down to maybe like, you know, 1,000 or 1,500, so that you could sort of buy, you know, if there's you know, things here and there, and then I would put the rest of the money into the money that goes back to the district.
Okay, can you make those? Does anyone else have any? Is anyone against that plan? Anybody? Any council member? Going once?
I don't want to complicate this, and you know, 4,500 seems arbitrary. Ted's figure seems arbitrary. The money should go to the kids in our district. I agree with Andy 100%. How much should be left for us? I'm not going to take Ted's word for it. I'm not going to take Crystal's word for it. I don't know. And I respect them both. I don't know how much should be left for us.
How about we say 1,000? That's a good balance, right? $1,000 leave it there for expenses in terms of buying supplies for the office, right? And then we just put everything else, which is going to be 35, 38 over to the 8,648 towards a district. Are we that? Is that a fear? Is it it's arbitrary, right? So we're just trying to, but also allocate something. So I think going from $4,500 to $1,000 gives Crystal some room to get what she needs to get for the office.
If I may,
yes, Crystal.
if I may, I would say 2,000 might be a better number, because one of the most expensive items is ink. They could run anywhere from $150 to $200 per cartridge.
Okay.
So just to account for that, but that's totally fine to move the rest.
Okay, so we have 1,000, 1,500, or 2,000. I think Crystal gave a argument why 2,000. Does anyone disagree with her argument? No. Okay, so can you make?
I would leave the 2,000 indeed with the ink, because I went into Costco and checked for ink the other day, and I want to know if because they reduced prices on some other things, that ink price almost double, I can take our argument for that.
Okay, Crystal, can you make the change of numbers there really quickly? Is that possible to do?
It's on on PDF. Just one sec.
No, I mean, this when we get to do the calculation, just let me see if I get my calculator here.
Sure.
Okay, so we're saying it was.
Sorry, just one sec.
Okay, it's okay. That's fine.
Here we go. Okay. All right. So we'll
Take out 253807 from that line. So this is 8,
so
6, 488,648.44 plus 2538.07. So if my calculation is right, you will have a total of $11,186.51 to give to the district. 11,186.51.
okay. So it's here 39.
8648.44 plus 253807. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So 25, 7803. So that would leave 2,000 here.
Mm-hmm.
70.
2538.
All right. And then so that would leave just one second. I have my little formulas here. Okay. So I'll just add it right here for now, just so we can move along.
Yes, that's perfect.
5. 08. 807. I get your.
That's
Yep.
that's perfect. That's fine.
No, I think there was a
It's all.
Oh, 2578, not 08.
Yeah, it's totally 78. No, you had 11,186.51.
I had 25,038.07 was the balance.
No, Crystal, you typed the number in wrong. That's why. It should be 2578.
Oh.
0.03.
70. 20, 20,
No,
25.
no, I'm saying that the number you're changing right now was not wrong. That number was
Okay.
right.
Mm-hmm. That was a 39. Okay. Right now I'm all mixed up, guys.
It's okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay, so we got because right there was also the remaining cost for Google Drive until June.
Oh, okay.
That's how I added it on my sheet. That's why it's like.
Crystal, just go to your formula at the bottom, the 11,000 number.
Mm-hmm.
Just get rid of that. Get rid of that 25 number, and just put G15 plus F9.
F9. Thank you.
Is that the same number you have, BJ?
No, but that's correct. That's correct. That's fine. Didn't you have 45,007 before?
Yes. So
Okay,
we're
so if you
taking
take a
253807.
correct. So then I just added from the last number you have, which was 8648.44, and just adding the 253807, right? Because you want to leave 2,000 in the P card.
Right.
So that's how I got my 11,186.
Oh, I see why it's wrong. The number in
F9.
F9 should be 2538.
That is correct.
0.07.
So
2538.07.
There you go. That's correct now.
Does that give me the same answer now?
Yes, 11,186.51. That is correct. Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm not good at Excel under pressure.
You're doing perfect. You're doing perfect. You have all these eyes glaring. We're all watching.
I know.
So
Is Crystal using the keystrokes or is she using the mouse?
Okay, so we're gonna move on right now. Okay. So now, council members, we're gonna just vote really quickly on this here. So now we agree that we have an excess of 11,186.51 cents, which Crystal and our treasurer Andy Meadows King is suggesting that we send over to Dr. Payton team to decide which school or which part of the district can use for supplies for the schools. How do we vote? Okay, I'll call a name. Just say yes or no. VJ, yes, I agree. Barbara Williams.
Just really quickly, what's the motion again? Are we just approving the whole budget as shown?
Okay, there has to be a motion for a few things. So we're motioning to move $100 from member reimbursements to Zoom to cover the remaining balance for the rest of the year. We're clearing up this line because we don't have a copier, right?
Are those the motions down there at the bottom?
Yep.
The 18, 19, 20?
Yep.
And then can you just make a motion? Other one is make a motion to 11,186.51 to district office, right? Can we make Bibi, can I read all those and then approve all at once?
And the P card supplies one should be 2,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Vijay, you can absolutely. So you're having the discussion to move your lines and money in these lines. So once Crystal makes all the changes, then you make the motion to adopt the modified budget.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Oh, so we just adopt it as a modified budget without specifics.
That's correct. Crystal, you
Okay,
tell
much
her how
easier.
you're moving it and how you're reallocating it, and then you just adopt as a modified budget.
So Crystal, line number 17, just put $2,000 there instead of 4538. When you finish, okay.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, I'm sorry. What'd you say, BJ?
Line number 17, A17. Change that number from 40 to 2,000. Make the $2,000 there. So line A21, just add the number 11,186.51. The amount there. Line A21. Just add the amount that we put to the district office superintendent, right? 11,186.51. Okay, I make a motion to adopt the budget modifications.
I second the motion.
Okay, let's vote. VJ, yes. Barbara?
Hi.
Elena?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andy Meadows King?
Yes.
Ted Chang?
Yes.
Mike Morrison, absent. Excuse absence. Robert?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Rajwinder?
Yes.
Okay, great. Pass. Next thing. Thank you, Crystal, for all the work on this. Thank you, Andy, for all the work on this. We appreciate it. And good job to members and making sure this money goes back to our district. I'm happy. All right, next thing we're gonna go to is the bylaws review code of conduct. Ted Chang.
Oh, okay. I guess I should share my screen here. I gotta
Yes.
pull it up.
So I'm aiming to have this meeting end by 9:30, right? That's just in terms of giving us a good timing check. So let's just be mindful.
Okay, so you should be able to see it now.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, we're starting at Article 10, Code of Conduct. Section 1 is part of the template, so really it starts at Section 2. So the Code of Conduct will, the first line, an officer of a council may not engage in misconduct, malfeasance, or neglect of duty. That comes from our existing bylaws. So I just wasn't sure what to do with that. So, but that's a code of conduct thing. So I just took that from the existing bylaws and put it there because it's already in our bylaws. And then the next two items are essentially like the whole, don't engage in personal attacks. So council members must maintain a courteous tone, especially in reference to any divergence of opinion, avoid injecting a personal note into debate. Council members must not attack, make allusion to the motives of, or make degrading comments towards a particular individual. And then the third line was kind of, Erica had gave us some language from a group that she's in. So I took that and I sort of put it into, language that we could use. So discussing and being thoughtful about privilege and advantages is acceptable, but council members shall not direct a negative comment at a particular individual that degrades their race, religion, culture, language, sexual orientation, gender, or identity. So I'll just stop there. So, just first of all, what do we think about the code of conduct as sort of,
Thank
those
you.
three items?
We'll take feedback from council members at this time on what we have so far.
Seems standard, BJ.
Yes.
Thank you to Ted. There's nothing new in this at all. It is perfectly worded. It's been probably this wording has been inserted probably a million times in a million different ways in other organizations. I don't think, and I think BB should weigh in as well, that there's a problem with anything that Ted just went over.
Other council, thank you so much, Howard. Other council members, any feedback, comments on this section here?
I think Ted put together a very good document. It's simplified that we all can understand and get to the point, and that's basically my contribution.
Thank you so much, Andy. Anyone else? Okay, all right, so at this point, I think we have a working version of what we want to say in the code of conduct section. So Ted, if you could just definitely, are there any other parts of this? I know we didn't ask you to, but did you work on any other parts of this?
Yeah. Oh no, the whole, I just wanted to stop there because that was sort of like the, part that we had a lot of discussion on yesterday.
Yes.
So the section 3 here is on violations and remedies. And so, so there's sort of we talked a lot about at our last meeting, we talked a lot about like how we would proceed. And so what I did here was I laid out the sort of the steps. So the first step here is if a violation occurs during a meeting, then someone makes a point of order, and then the chair or whoever is presiding over the meeting, usually the president, would direct that person to stop violating these rules. And then we also talked about the, giving everyone the power to sort of mute people if they're starting to escalate. So then the next paragraph is, if they think that this is happening, then the member may briefly mute the involved parties to prevent further escalation. And then I also add, and that was for a virtual meeting. For an in-person meeting, I said that a member can briefly pause the meeting, and then after they pause the meeting, whoever is presiding over the meeting, usually the president, would recognize a speaker that is not one of the people that was, involved in that incident. So that's kind of step 2, is, giving people the power to pause a meeting. Step 3 in this process is if we talked about the whole idea that we wanted to just sort of see if it was something we just deal with informally with some phone calls. So we said, okay, if a violation has occurred, then council members may informally enter into verbal discussion outside of council meeting to the extent that that's permissible. And maybe just a couple of quick phone calls that addresses it. And if so, then we're done. If that does not solve the issue, then the next step in the 4th paragraph would be that we would hold an executive session as a council. And the people invited to that session would be all the council members, any guests of the council like BB and Crystal, as well as the involved parties. And the involved parties would be anyone, any complainer alleging that they have standing to complain after they allege actual harm to themselves, and then whoever the complaint was made against. And so basically that's, we would have an executive session to just hash out the issues and see if we could just hash it out ourselves. And we talked about that also on Tuesday. And then the next step after that, if that executive session doesn't work, then that's when we go to facilitated restorative practices. And what we do there is we let each of the parties nominate some facilitators. And in case that they have a certain preference, and the involved parties hash out who the facilitator is going to be. Like they have to come to a mutual agreement on who's going to facilitate the restorative practices. If for any reason they cannot agree, then the council would step in and say, okay, we will select a reputable and trained restorative practices facilitator that would be acceptable to a reasonable person. And that's a reasonable person standard. And then, so we already held an executive session, but now we would hold an executive session where we have a facilitator there that engages in restorative practices with the 2 parties. So that's like step, I don't know what step I'm on, step 5 maybe. And then I have a provision in here that like, if the complainer does not want to go through the restorative practices process, then their complaint is automatically dismissed. If the person who the complaint is lodged against rejects the restorative practices process, then they're waiving their rights to engage in restorative practices. And then the final step here is, again, and let's remember the restorative practices process is everything up until this point is all completely voluntary. Nothing happens unless all the parties agree to the result. That's even with a facilitator, it's not like the facilitator can decide what the result is going to be. All the parties in that restorative practices process have to agree to the resolution. So one party might agree that they had fault, and that would be acceptable if all the parties agreed to it. But it would really depend on what happens during that facilitated restorative practices session. So, and then the final step here is if we go through all these steps and just the parties are not able to resolve this in a satisfactory way where everyone feels like they had a fair process that resolves the process to the satisfaction of everyone involved. If for some reason we just cannot resolve it, then at that point the council would have an executive session and would deliberate on whether the council at that point would enter in and sort of have to make a decision on all the issues that had been raised up to that point and decide if there was some sort of formal disciplinary action that was warranted. And that might include public censure by resolution, loss of officer positions, or other penalties. And then I added a provision here that but the person who the complaint was made against has to be given an express final warning in writing on what was expected in order to avoid further disciplinary action by the council. So that's just sort of some due process for that person, that, you know, if we're really going to penalize that person, if none of these other things worked and we're going to penalize that person, we have to give them a final warning on what we expect of them. And then if they don't comply with that final warning, then at that point we can issue a penalty. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. I think that was very exhaustive and very detailed. Thank you, Ted, for working on this and doing a lot of work on this. I think it's very thought out and it's step by step. I think I will pass it over to my colleagues. Let's go down to council members. Comments, questions, concerns.
I'm fine with everything. You know, we talked about this the other day, and thank you, Ted, for putting it all together. Well done.
Others.
Ted, this is an amazing job. Thank you. Quick
Agreed.
question.
Thank you so much.
The end of the bitter end, where the complainant was given an express final warning in writing. Now, the complainant already knows, you know, the process has been exhaustive, you know, and I'm not sure I understand why this is necessary, number one. And number two, if it is necessary, then the complainant should be agreeable to signing the final warning, because you can't just say, here's your final warning, and that's it. There's got to be some sort of signature on that final warning that yes, I agree to abide by these rules. Otherwise, what's the difference?
That's once the council, that's when the last step, when the council now reaches to that point, correct? And we agree, here's a warning. Now both parties will sign this warning.
In my purse.
So Howard, in response to what you just said, I think I didn't put like what the warning will say, but I suppose that we as a council could put conditions in the final warning. Like the final warning could be something like, you must do X, Y, Z, and you may not, or we could, you know, warn them that they can't do these things again. Like you cannot do this again, you cannot do this again, you cannot do this again. And you must agree to this warning, and you have to agree to these terms to avoid further penalty, to avoid us taking action to penalize you right now. So you could put that into the warning, and certainly I don't think this language would stop the council from doing what you're thinking.
I would agree, Ted. I think some minor language additions to say that the complainant must agree to the final warning in writing or by signatory. Otherwise, the council has to act.
Why must there be anything in paper to begin with? Why? Like, I would be careful with that, because this is an illegal thing.
What is your alternative suggestion, Robert?
Nothing, everything without the paperwork. That's it. He doesn't need a paper warning. There are enough of us to witness the act, and that's it. I don't think there should be anything written. It's just done, and then we vote.
But how do we ensure or have something? What gives a member some form of a serious indication that this is not going to be acceptable? Because we can't remove a member, right? Any member. We're not going to say he or she. That's to say a member, right? How do we ensure that something is going to be done where this member or any member is acknowledging that we are asking you to not do this?
I think we vote as a group of 6 people when that comes up. But to put it in paper, I don't see what writing it down changes anything. So you wrote it down.
We have to have it in writing, Robert, for safeguard, to safeguard ourselves. You have to have some form of documentation to safeguard ourselves. So you have to have something in writing.
Okay, so
you can't just vote on and it's not in writing, then there's nothing to look back at. So we need to safeguard ourselves. So we need documentation of whatever it is.
Problem is that this is supposed to be a collegial environment. When you start talking about documentation against the person, it creates too many issues. I would not vote for anything written because I really don't want to tie myself down to something like that. I think if we want to penalize somebody, we go through a resolution, and that would be the written. But to send somebody a written paper that we're gonna go after him, that just means that that person, like, if that person is nasty, gonna get lawyers and then like start a whole big issue, which I don't want to be part of, right? I volunteer for this so that I can help the community. The last thing I need is to get into a legal issue, even if I know the DOE will support the lawyers. I don't care, you know. I don't want to be involved in that. So I support everything up until the fact of writing somebody off, sending letters. It would be a resolution that we as 6 members agree that this one member is not, you know, is not helping the environment, is not conducive to a productive environment. And so we are limiting whatever. I don't know, again, it depends what we can do, but, you know, forwarding it to whatever it is to suppress that person, I guess.
What does others think?
Well, there's one, I will chime in here a little bit in support of what Robert is saying, which is that whenever you put something on paper, it becomes a public record that can be foiled. And of course, there might be some exceptions to that, but yeah, the whole concept of having executive session over these confidential issues is to avoid having, you know, avoid having someone's privacy, you know, especially when there's these charged allegations that may or may not be true. And we're trying to protect the privacy of the individuals that are involved in this incident. But the minute you put it on paper, I mean, it's almost like it goes against the whole idea of protecting the privacy of the individuals. So, I mean, I put it in there because that seemed to be what people wanted on Tuesday, but my personal preference would actually be to not put anything on paper until it's at the public, you know, we're gonna, you know, the council is gonna make a public vote on it stage.
So question for you is that, doesn't the person or a person have, this is like the last option, right? He or she can choose to not get to this point, right? And really not get to the point where it becomes this. I mean, there's so many options here to really resolve whatever it is. And a person who is choosing not to do so, or whatever it is understanding that this is the last option that the council will take. Even if we do a resolution and we have something in writing and a resolution is public record, right? That is also something that is not really great. So I'm not sure how it's different in either way.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there too. It's like, since we are at the end of the process, then we're.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, BJ, because, you know, we're hoping that it doesn't get to that, but we saw how it already happened, and we need to put things on there so you don't do it, you know. Otherwise, if we don't set up penalties, then it's going to happen again and again. And clearly, we're never going to get to the, you know, to hear Micah's side or to go through this whole thing because it just, you know, doesn't show up or whatever. But we need to have this in place so it doesn't happen.
So so I think we've heard various points from various sides on this situation here. First of all, thank you, Ted, for really sitting down, and I'm sure you put the time and a lot of effort in this. We are grateful. In this current version, how it is here, can we make a move? I want to make Bibi, help me. Do I make a motion to vote on adopting this, or do we need more time?
BJ, this is just because we're going to have to do a whole bylaws committee meeting to go over the whole rest of the bylaws, not just this section. So
can we agree that this is okay so far, though?
We can just sort of like informally agree,
right?
But the actual formal vote will be much later. Okay,
so can we just have a formal? Because I mean, if we keep
So if I may, VJ,
Yes,
a
please
couple
go
of
ahead.
things
Yes.
here I have questions on. Well,
Yes.
first of all, Ted, I put in the chat, great job on the presentation, celebrating history and this bylaws as well. I mean, kudos to you. You put a lot of time and effort. It's real intentional, and you were deliberate, making sure that everyone's voices were reflected here. But I do have a question. I see here, I believe it's under, let's go back. I think point number 3 or 4, where it talks about consensus. Each of the involved parties shall nominate up to 3 restorative practices, facilitators, restorative practice, by the consensus of the involved parties. You are a public body. No decision is made by consensus. Everything you do is by vote, and it's public. So I'm a little off with this. Can maybe you help me expand on it a little bit?
Sure. So the people that are coming to consensus are only the complainer and the complainee. So really there's only one, probably, one council member involved in that. And it's between them and whoever made the complaint. And so it really doesn't involve the rest of the council. The idea is just more that they need to first try to agree.
Right, but we have to be careful with language, right? Because again, you're a public body and you make your decisions together as a council, not individually or separately. So even though you have an offender, right? Or as you say, a complainer or a complainee, when those two parties meet, it still has to be decisions that it's made publicly or in an executive session with the rest of the council. You see what I'm saying?
In presence of the rest of the council, at
Correct.
least.
Well,
Correct.
so there's two. I think that your question has two parts. So, in terms of like how they select the facilitator, I think they're just. It's kind of like the council doesn't even care who the facilitator is. If they can agree to a facilitator, that's great, and then the council would just like defer to them. So I think the idea.
So you need to change the language in here, even though you don't care. One reading this. The message must be clear that this is a council decision when you all come together, not just a two-party.
No.
So VJ and I had an argument and we were having disagreement. VJ and I will talk about this and we'll decide who we want to, these 3 restorative practices, right? Who we want to facilitate this.
Yes.
We can't decide. If we say we want you, Ted, the council also have to agree. So we are going to have a mediation, and Ted, representing Peace, vendor, whomever is coming in, will be doing it. The council has to agree.
So I think that's the whole point here is that you're saying that we the council, we want the council to agree. Is that what your point is?
No, I think like Vivi saying we have to vote on it. So like if you and so like
If
she
you
was
want
saying,
the council to agree, everybody has to.
VJ was having a disagreement and they agree on mediation, they would come to us as a council and we will vote if mediation is the way to go. If you got your 6 votes, that's the way to do it. But you cannot make a decision just amongst yourself.
So, BB, are you saying that like if the people have their own facilitators and they can agree on who that will be, that you want the council to still be able to approve that facilitator? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, but okay, so let me see if I can understand this correctly or explain it better. When a council has dispute and they have issues within themselves, the first people they reach out to is FACE, right? So we mediate. If we are not able to mediate with council members on the council, we bring a vendor in. We pay for that. We bring someone in and we mediate, right? And then we try to do these practices, not a lot of them that you have here, but we will try to do that. But it's a council's decision, right? So you could be the complainee and you could say, BB, I can't work with Howard because Howard is disrespecting me every time we're in this setting, in this space. I need mediation, right? So this mediation is for, and Howard say, I don't think we need mediation, right? And I'm not attending and I'm not coming, I'm not participating. We can't mediate with just you, Ted, right?
Sorry, Yeah.
So the council will say, okay, I think as a council, we need mediation because we need to move past this. So you make that decision together.
So I think what I'm hearing is that instead of having the facilitator be more open-ended, what you're suggesting is that first FACE would be the facilitator. And if that doesn't work out, then FACE would select
Correct. We are the ones.
Select one of its facilitators.
Correct. It's escalated through us.
Okay. And
I will
does
also-
the council even need to be involved then, or should it just be FACE decides who the mediator is?
No, the council is involved in every decision we make, everybody.
Okay, so it would be FACE with the consent of the council, basically.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, I can make that change.
So, and just language in here, I know the language in here is, it's beautiful, right? I mean, it's great, it's fantastic. It's like, it's coming from Robert's rule and reflecting what everybody else put in and all of that. But just think of making it, if you are not all on this council and you all leave and you have new council who are parent members, may not, it's the language. Can we make it a little more parent friendly, so to speak? It's a lot of jargon, legal here. There's a lot of legal language here. I would say that would be my advice to this council. I don't know how that would land for you, but that would be my advice. As you see, when we make templates for bylaws, we keep language very simple and parent friendly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Jen?
I agree, BB, and at the same time, it's like there's just, but I agree with it in principle, but it's actually very hard to do that.
I know.
I just want to move things along in a way that is productive too. So I think we have presented, we got feedback. Ted, I think the bylaws committee have some work to do to take all this feedback. Let's move forward with it. I think there's some revisions that need to be made, right? And some edits in terms of what you can do. Ted, I think Ted and BB can really chime in outside of this call to really maybe send it back and forth, include Sonia Rowena if we need to do so to also get her opinion. I think then we can have another presentation of this at our next CEC meeting and we can keep going. Is that fair?
Sure. And just really quickly, if we're going to move on here, I just want to show everyone the last section, which is community norms. And we'd all kind of talked about culture of inclusion and respect and a welcoming environment. I think the second line was taken from Erica's, but basically, these are things that are sort of, we all feel it, we all know it, but they're too vague to put into a code of conduct. But at the same time, I think it wouldn't hurt to just memorialize them officially as our council, because, I was thinking we can even post these community norms, at the beginning of meetings or something, just to just set the tone for our meetings. That this is what we want our meetings to be like from everyone, not just us, but all the participants should show compassion, respond appropriately, don't bully other people, and just things that should be obvious, but in these really contentious council meetings can sometimes be forgotten. And so that's, just want to add that at the bottom.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ted. We have our work cut out for us. You can stop sharing at this time. And we'll continue working at our next council meeting, at our business meeting. We'll have another version of this to review and to see. Sounds good? Great. Moving along, Ted, I'll give you a few minutes. You've already presented. Does anyone have any question on Ted's resolution that he presented? Ted, can you put your resolution up on the screen, please? We were all on that meeting today where he presented a resolution. I think he did a great and excellent job presenting that historic piece in our district. I didn't know about that, and that school right up my block. Real close to me here, Pat Mitchell School, actually, Principal Pat Mitchell. Pretty interesting.
Oh, that's close to where you are, BJ?
Pardon me?
That school is close to where you are?
Yeah, I'm not too close, but lower down by Baisley Pond Park. But yeah.
Oh, neat.
You bring up the resolution. Very beautiful. Okay. And then can you scroll up, please, here? Okay, scroll down, please, Ted. Resolution on P. 1 second. Go back, please, up, Ted. The resolution. Go back. I'm gonna read it. Okay, so scroll up back, please. Resolution CEC28 resolution on PS48 and the school troubles in Jamaica over segregated schools. Sponsor is Ted Chang, chair of the CEC28 Equity Committee. Scroll down, Ted, please. I'm going to read this part here. Everyone had a chance to read this. Do you all want me to read through the whole thing, or can we just vote on adopting it? Can I go to the whereas part, Ted? You have to scroll down. Let me see something. Hold on.
You should be able to, basically the.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You know what? I forgot I could do that. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. Sorry. Here it is.
Okay.
So the last part that Ted says, be it resolved that Community Education Council District 28 supports remembering Black history by recounting an important historical story about the activism of Black families in Jamaica and New York. Now, this was sent out since last week. Actually, it's not that long. I'll just read it here. Whereas, here is the draft version. Whereas every February is Black History Month, and whereas the story of the school troubles in Jamaica, New York is not well known today and needs to be retold, lest this fascinating District 28 history be forgotten. And whereas during the Jamaica school troubles, Black families challenged the racial segregation of schools, and whereas the families of District 28 may take a greater interest in learning about history through these kinds of concrete, local, and specific connections in which they can see their own communities in the long arch of history. And whereas studying original source material in a rich way to understand history, but it also demands that the reader becomes educated about the historical use of language, such as colored, Negro, or yellow, that is considered archaic and offensive. And whereas learning history plays a critical role in the development of the citizenship skills of our families, voters, community members, educators, and leaders, and whereas the retelling of this story may better equip educators and families to analyze today's racial issue through a historical lens, therefore be it resolved that Community Education Council, District 28, supports remembering Black history by recounting an important historical story about the activism of Black families in Jamaica, New York. I got a question. So are you saying that we should, like, how do you think we should recount this? Like how you did today?
When you say how do we recount it, what do you mean?
Like, do you mean like, so the CEC should do what? Like you say we should support remembering, but how should we remember it? By recounting like what you did today, like explaining tell a story, tell what happens?
Well, I mean, the resolution is like all the whereas,
right?
And then the story is attached to it. So just by passing the resolution, we're essentially telling the story. And then when we email around the resolution, and if people read it, then that's kind of a telling of the story too. So
okay, great. Any other questions? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Okay, we shall vote. All right. All in favor of passing this resolution? Vijay Ramchan? Yes. Barbara Williams?
Yes.
Elena Aminova? You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Erica Cooper?
Yes.
Andy Matus King?
Yes.
Ted Chang?
Yes.
Michael Morrison, excused absence. Robert Tamayev? Robert Tamayev? I don't think he's here. Okay. Howard Pollock?
Yes.
Roger Nakar?
Yes.
Okay. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 yes. 1 absent, and 1, I guess I have no show. He's not here. So the resolution has been passed. Thank you so much, Ted. You will adopt.
Congratulations, Ted.
Yes. Congratulations, Ted.
And thank you, everyone. I mean, that was this is really historic for our district. So thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thank you, and definitely we will have it filled out properly, and then we'll have it sent to Crystal, which gets sent out to our entire district. You can stop sharing now this time, Ted. Thank you so much.
I would like to say something, VJ, because I have
Please.
to go.
Go ahead.
I do think that we need to have another special meeting to discuss this whole code of conduct and bylaws thing. Because of the wording that's in there, we have to be very careful. We have to go with state law, D140 law, and a lot just can't change the language. So we need to discuss this further. And that's my opinion and how I feel as the first vice president. I hope everyone will abide with what I'm saying, but I think this is very tedious and very tricky, and we have to be careful. We're a public body and we're a council, and this should be done as a council. One person can't just put their own input into this whole bylaw code of conduct thing, and we need time to discuss this whole thing. And tonight we couldn't finish discussing it tonight, and we can't just sweep it under the rug or cut it off. So I think we need to have another special meeting to discuss this whole thing.
I think we're going to have a bylaws committee meeting, and of course, everyone is invited to the bylaws committee meeting. So that would be, I think that would be the time to do it. So because it would be a meeting just about the bylaws.
Yes. So then Barbara and Ted, whoever, can send an email requesting that special meeting for the bylaws. And then we can do so. It'll be great if you do it before the next CC meeting, next calendar meeting, so we can speed things up. You know, this is
okay.
Do it. So please send the email out, or we can just go ahead and agree, and we can schedule that for this specific case, right?
Thank you.
Last item in our calendar, the treasurer's report. Anything to report, Andy?
Go ahead.
Anything to report from the treasurer department? I think you all did already.
Not really. Everything me and Crystal worked out about everything.
Thank you, sir. Next is old business. Any old business, anyone? Any new business? Okay, the time now is 9:53 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. So we did a great job. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Have a great week.